Okay. But if you're wanting to file suit, depends on, I would just do it in business district, or even in the service. And the reason is,
Just one additional thing that we're going to just an example. Diane, I'll give you one or two. Just an example.
Thank you. Oh, I was like,
Just extra.
it's a pretty catch.
we're getting it. We're getting it so far. Oh, well, the two, you may want to stick it down there. No, man.
It's for Terra Road.
If there was a way
An example of screening.
I
was like, look, it's a pretty hedge.
We'll work something out. You know what I mean? It's got a bit older yard, right?
Yeah.
Because arguably all that would just be due diligence to firewalls. Well, to determine what you have to determine the value of it is. So, I mean, either A is because you paid that, or I mean, arguably you get it as bids. We're not going to hold us like jar. Go ahead. Yeah, because it could easily be many more. So yeah, you don't want to I don't want to wait. We're going to pay for it. Right. The last time that happened, there was auto insurance.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's like the one in Cave Springs. It's really nice.
Somebody hit that wall. It's 4 times. Not familiar. You lose control around the curves back there. 4 times. Yeah, that's why you're stuck with it.
So you're stuck with, that's one of those things that,
and you're split ahead. Oh, it's a little bit damaged, but this one, they were flying. There's no skid marks or nothing. The only thing that stopped them was that wall when they would have hit a house. They killed somebody. You know, it's funny for themselves.
Ah, how are you? Not too bad.
Exactly.
I said it was on earlier.
We had someone in the back, but we had paid to retain.
probably gonna have one line.
Okay. I guess just turn it so people can see.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Tries to do more like a real estate type.
Okay, Jeff, like that?
But they paid it for 10. That's just for your time in case there's.
I said it's weird. That was working a minute ago.
Yeah, just someone to give advice. Is it? And then some. Getting my judgment.
If we get ready to get started, if you have not signed in, we would ask that you sign in, especially if you're going to speak this evening, so that we have a good record. There's a sign-up sheet at the back of the room.
Oh, Ben.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Hey, Jeff. Oh, Ben. Oh, Ben. Oh, yeah.
Anybody hear me? Hello?
I heard about the story.
Trying to get this TV. Can't get the HDMI. There's no HDMI. It's supposed to be an HDMI one.
I said, yeah, the TV was working when.
Diane, do you you have a Zoom?
Yes.
Hold on one second. Here, Ben, talk to Diane.
Oh.
That's Ben. Ben.
Hey, Ben, how are you? Oh, no. Oh, thank you. We appreciate that. Do you have paperwork that shows the Zoom link that we usually use for the planning commission meetings?
You know what, yeah.
Let me email it to you real quick, so that way you can have it.
Oh, no.
Oh, no problem. Well, you know, hopes that you get nothing.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, well, hey, thanks for doing that. I appreciate it. Yes. Okay, well, I will let you talk to Joe. Right, I'll send it to him. He's trying. I've got to.
One is public, one is not.
I totally forgot his name. Yeah, thank you. I'm trying. I just had a complete brain lapse on his name. There we go. I have his email. I had a lapse in judgment from any. Couldn't remember his name.
Maybe he wanted it that way.
That could be a good thing, potentially.
We got space now.
I like it.
Okay. Okay. No, is he? Do we need him for quorum?
Don't.
Okay.
We have.
I guess we don't have to.
Okay. No, I was just checking. I mean, I can happily do that. So.
We have an odd number.
Yeah, should make a difference. Well, I guess he was right.
He was nice.
Okay. I know.
They come and give me the whole questions. I don't know. So here's
Can you guys hear me?
So he was counting. Then he got this page.
Hello.
If he joins.
After I had a momentary brain lapse, come up with his name to save my life.
Did they go? Yeah, just tell me we will.
I don't like this word.
When he was there and plant. So some of those guys are coming over.
we tried. I'll forward it later. Got one.
Yeah. I don't know. Do I need my phone for okay.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started this evening. We will need your full attention this evening so we can get through the agenda. This is Senator Planning Commission for November 16th, 2021. We will start with Dave.
Jeff Seifert.
Here.
Joey Eagle.
Here.
Devin Murphy.
Here.
Craig Langford.
Here.
Jerry Harris.
Here.
Amber Beal. John Sessoms.
Here.
Ben Lewis. And Tony Davis.
I believe Ben is trying to join us virtually, so as soon as he gets
Yes.
on, he will let us know. We'll
Not
go
there
ahead
yet.
and get started without him, and then whenever he joins, we'll put him. First thing on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from our planning meeting from 11/2/2021.
This is Jerry. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Minutes were approved. Next on the agenda is the ratification of the admin approvals. There's there's 4 of them that are on there. Were there any questions from any of the commissioners on the admin approvals? If there are not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the admin approval.
This is John. I motion to ratify administrative approvals as listed.
Joey, a second.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone opposed? Next on the agenda is old business. Under old business, we have development 2108 Christian Life Center, P in lieu of. This is the west side of Campbell Road between Tyler and Seba. As a reminder, it's R3 single family / 2.80 acres, and a fee in lieu of for Campbell Road improvements. Who's doing this? This is going to be staff.
Okay,
Could be
so
Donna.
with Christian Life Center, this is one you've previously seen before. However, at the time, staff is still working through the JP agreement and whether there would be a fee in lieu or these improvements would be constructed. At this time, staff has agreed to allow the fee in lieu, and we've received a fee in lieu estimate. And engineering and public works have looked over the estimate and the proposal for what will be constructed, which is sidewalk and some drainage and drainage swale, and have agreed that they would like to recommend approval of the standard, which is $60,926.60.
Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners? If there are no comments or questions, I would entertain a motion for the fee in lieu of for the development 2108 for the Christian Life Center.
Joey, I'll make a motion to approve the fee in lieu of for development 2108 Christian Life Center.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? And was Ben able to join us yet?
Yes, he is on here with you.
So we'll just note that Ben is with us now,
Yes.
and remind you when we do a vote that I need to count him. All right, now we're on the new business this evening. We do have a couple of public hearings. They'll go in succession as they are on the agenda that was published. We do ask that we open the comment time period for you to either ask questions, state comments, or anything like that. We'll ask that you come to the podium, name and address, and I'll remind you of all this as we go through them, but name and address, and we'll go from there. So first thing on the agenda this evening is a public hearing for rezone 21-32 Silver Dreams at the northeast corner of South Main Street and Brookside Road, A1, so Agriculture 1 to R3 duplex, just over 10 acres. Is the applicant here to give us an overview? So if you'll just come and give us an overview of what you're looking to do. Your name and address, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shekhar. I'm representing Silver Dreams LLC, and this is for the rezone of application 2032, which is the northeast corner of Main Street and Brookside. This is currently a 10 acres lot, and it is under agricultural zone, and we wanted to build duplexes. So we are requesting for R3D rezoning.
Okay, thank you. Donna, this is you. Please have an overview.
Yes. You saw this one earlier this year as part of a track split. The track split basically took the lots which were angled more east-south and turned into more the northwest squares. The intent is to develop them as a duplex subdivision if the rezone is approved tonight. The parcel is along South Main Street, which is a minor arterial, and Brookside, which is a minor collector. The property has access to water, but not sewer at this time. There is a floodplain and floodway on the northeast corner of the property, next to the little Osage Creek, which is just off of the property. There should be this. So that is also shown on the wetlands mapper as a potential woodland wetland, so there would need to be an assessment done before any construction. And as far as the surrounding zoning, this is to the west of the Hilldale subdivision, which is R3 single family. Further to the east is the Woods commercial, and then the Benton County solid waste. So there's some industrial nearby. And then there is some R3 duplex and some other R3 single family. This area is developing pretty rapidly, and it is not staying practical. We've seen several rezones in this area in recent times. So due to that, we think that it is compatible due to the rapid growth in the area. As far as the adopted land use plan, this area is designated medium high density residential, which has a density cap of 7 units per acre. So it is consistent with the density and residential use. It is not consistent with the parks and open space in the very northeast corner, as that is parks and the entire property is designated as R3D. However, that is a floodway, floodplain, and it couldn't develop on that without some substantial with the floodplain. So there are, with the comprehensive plan implementation, I've included in your packet some items that it is consistent with, such as being located directly next to the existing neighborhood, and some items that it's not, such as potentially preserving some of the with that, I've also included the 5 questions that the planning commission is supposed to consider with all these.
Any questions from any commissioners? Then at this time, I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
It's John, a motion to open public hearing for rezone 2132 Silver Green. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Public hearing, is anyone opposed? All right, we are now open in public hearing, and this is for the rezone 2132 Silver Greens only at this time. If anyone wishes to speak or have any comments, we do ask that you come to the podium. And again, we ask that you state your name and your address, then you're going to address the planning commission.
Can I just ask a question? Is there any way to get these films on the other monitors so
No,
people can
we
see it?
couldn't get it to work this evening, so did you have a specific question?
No, I'm just looking for the next ones that are coming up,
Okay.
so we can see what's going on.
Unfortunately, tonight it didn't want to cooperate, so we're using this one here. Does anyone wish to speak in regards to the rezone 21-32, the Silver Greens?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Give a thumb up here for us, please.
Larry Patterson, I live 5811 Brookside Road, which is in the middle of that development. My question is since the floodplain issue is should coincide, in my way of thinking, with the city of Bentonville, which is on the other side of the road there. How do you pass something when you don't have the data, I guess you might say, or at least the agreement between the two cities to where that there's a proposed 9-acre floodplain just south of my house, my wife and I's house there. Is there any way that we can get privy to know whether or not that's happened, whether or not the city of Centerton has talked with the city of Bentonville to know, because I've been there when floods happen. It's a confluence of, yes, the creek, but the worst thing there is the water that's coming from the west side, and it is from the house there, it just looked like a giant tornado down there with the water going in a big old circle. So in my way of thinking, with all the added houses coming in there, whether you have a little pond or something like that, that really does an issue. And I'm not an engineer, but when you get one of those great big rains, you do need an engineer to answer the question and make him liable, because I hate to think that my house was in a floodplain when I'm 15 foot higher than where the creek is down there. But if they don't, if that 9 acre proposed park / retention pond down there isn't developed, that could very well be, I could be in a floodplain.
Yeah, and I don't know, Ryan, we probably haven't done anything with that, so
Whenever we want projects that are directly adjacent to Bentonville city limits, we do send them projects for courtesy reviews. They've been sent the project, so
Okay.
they're aware.
So they're aware, and there's all sorts of dickering going on. Since I live there, I'm kind of privy to some of the info. There's all sorts of dickering going on that 9 acres, supposedly between the landowner and the city of Bentonville. Give and take issues. I don't want to get into the details and all that kind of thing, but until that is addressed, who knows? You know what I'm saying? Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else that wishes to speak in regards to the rezone 2132 for solar dreams? And we'll do a third and final call. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
This Jerry, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
John, I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, the public hearing is now closed. Let's go ahead and go through our things that we need to consider. First one is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the adopted land use plan. If not, why? And I do believe the residential designation is consistent from a density as well. Does anybody disagree with that, or have any comments? Okay. Is the proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones? And again, they're requesting residential duplex. There are other, of course, residential areas around, along with some more industrialized that's down the street. So I would agree that this one is compatible. Does anybody disagree with that? Okay. The next one, would all the permitted uses in the new zone be compatible in this location and surrounding areas? And again, they're asking for R3, and they're asking for duplex. So again, I think all the permitted uses would be okay. Let's agree with that. Okay. Would the rezoning provide a benefit to one lane owner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area? And I do not believe that there is just one. This would not benefit just one landowner in this area, but we would consider it for all of the properties in this area. You guys agree? And the public is opposed. Why? Are the objections based upon factual information relating directly to This request for opinion-based, does any factual information presented apply to this rezoning situation? Of course, Lynn brought up the fact there is some, water outlet that flows along that area. As Donna shared with the group, we have sent those plans to Bentonville, and then of course, as it gets developed, there is a development plan that goes, it includes drainage, it is reviewed and things like that. So all part of the development plan if we approve it this evening as far as drainage and how it's handled. Okay? Any other comments or questions from any of the commissioners? If there are not, then I would entertain a motion for rezone 2132 Silver Dreams. Again, this is the northeast corner of South Main Street and Brookside. A1 to R3 duplex, just over 10 acres.
This county, I make a motion to approve rezone, already 21-32 Silver Dreams, northeast corner of South Main Street, Brookside, from A1 to R3.
Joey, I second.
I have a motion, and we have a second. Let's do Ben, or can we do Ben first since he's on Zoom? Lorraine, can you do that for me?
Yes. Ben Lewis.
Yes.
Oh, I asked him, hang on a second. Ben, if you're there, we're asking if you are.
Yes.
What your vote is for the public hearing on the rezone 2132 Silver Dreams rezone.
Yes.
Yes.
He said yes. Does that count?
I don't know if this microphone is working.
Okay, Craig Langford.
Yes.
John Sessions.
Yes.
Tony Davis.
Yes.
Jerry Harris.
Yes.
Kevin Murphy. Jeff Saban.
Yes. Thank you. Good luck with the project. Yeah, and if
The joys of technology.
yeah, and if you want to put it in the comments next time, that would be good as well. But thank you, John. All right, next on the agenda this evening is a conditional use. It's conditional use 21-10, the Hitched RV Park at 11673 West Arkansas Highway 72. It is C2 commercial. It is 6.23 acres, and the request is for a recreational vehicle park. And just the applicant here.
The applicant's here too as well. We have Jason Ingles with Expedient Civil Engineering representing the project. We're asking for a conditional use to put in a, there may be some misconception that we're looking for more like a mobile home park type of thing. This is an RV park to allow RVers like myself, as we're traveling down I-49, because we are located within 2 miles west of the building, for a place to pull off for the night and stay before they continue their travels. Maximum stay in the conditional use would be 30 days. The office would be open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. Allow travelers to come in and check in. We are proposing some screenage along the subdivision west. We also have a 25-foot green space plan, as well as an 18-foot driveway path, so we're more than 43 feet units from the property line. I gave you an example of the type of screening that we're wishing to do. I can't say it'll be exactly like that. We probably would want it to be a little taller than that. But that is what arborvitae does. When you plant arborvitae real close together, it can produce a whole solid evergreen screen. And that is what we're proposing to add to the project.
Is that on the west side?
Yes, sir. To try and screen that, I think the arborvitae also will take care of some of the noise and anything from that. I'm an RVer myself. It's not too noisy, and I've stayed in a lot across the country. I have an RV trailer that pulled all the way to Washington State before. I stopped at many places on the way going to Washington and Montana to Glacier National Park. And they're not typically too noisy. They're not a noise generating, not like some some things that could be installed here if it were zoned. It's zone C2, so you could have a convenience store there. You could have a lot of things. It would be a lot more noisy and a lot more intrusive than this. With that, I'll answer any questions that you may have.
I think we'll go through the presentation, and then if we have some questions, we'll bring that up.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, Donna, I believe this is you.
Nope, it's the other date. It's Diane.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. It doesn't help that our names are just 2 letters off. As Jason stated, they are wanting to do a RV park in this location. It is zoned C2, and it is a conditional use under the C2 zoning. They would like to do up to 50 space recreational vehicle park with the full hookups, Wi-Fi, and all those lovely things that go with it. And the intent is to develop it immediately. And of course, they will have to do a large scale development, and they do have a concurrent large scale plan development currently under review with the city. But it does require the conditional use permit. It is located on Highway 72. It is adjacent to Orchard Park, and across the street is Benton County. And to the south of the area is the Crazy Car Wash, which is also designated as C2. There are currently, I missed a page, there are currently no floodplain or any kind of wetlands on this property. Here you can see that they have provided the information on the proposed use, outdoor structures. They are going to propose, like I said, the 50 space RV park with full hookups, showers, restrooms, dog park, and a small portable office. It, of course, would be open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, but they only have check-in between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. I think Jason may have said 8, but they did say 6 a.m. And of course, that person would be there to ensure that people check in and out, that they check out, you know, that they're not there any longer than 30 days. There will be someone there to ensure that that rule is kept. There will be the 1 employee in the office and 1 employee for daily maintenance and cleaning of the showers, other structures, and of course just general maintenance of property. The clients are going to be the RV owners to come in to visit, say, family here in Centerton, and or visit, you know, the amenities that we have here in Northwest Arkansas, or just a quick break from a longer trip, since they're kind of hard to park in a lot of other places. And as Jason stated, we are close to I-49. Each RV spot will accommodate an RV and 1 vehicle. 2 additional parking spaces are proposed next to the restroom and showers. So if you're on the far end and you don't want to have to walk all the way to the shower if it's raining, there is parking for vehicles there by the showers. If not, there is just the RV and up to 1 vehicle. There are not any fire pits, picnic tables, or any kind of outdoor barbecue grills or anything like that proposed. It is just strictly the hookups for the recreational vehicles. Some of the permitted uses in C2, it is for highway commercial, intended for businesses that cater to highway traffic. Things such as service stations, drive-in restaurants, motels, supermarkets. You can also have auto detail, convenience store, and these are things that are permitted by right without a conditional use permit. Auto parts store, auto sales, pawn shop, liquor store, grocery store, gas station. Just to kind of give people an idea of what is allowed there just by right without having to go through the conditional use permit process. The surrounding uses, as I said, there is Orchard Park directly adjacent to the west, which is R2. And there is also, just to the north of this is Big Sky Subdivision, which is also R2. To the south is also commercial, the C2, and that's the Crazy Car Wash, which already exists. And across the street is Benton County. Arkansas Highway 72 West is designated as a major arterial on the adopted master street plan. So with that, we are asking that they dedicate right-of-way with the large-scale development for Highway 72. And the planned site modifications, they're going to do gravel and of course landscaping, construct any fences that may not currently exist along these lots on the backside of Orchard Park. They will construct any fencing that is missing. And as Jason stated, there will be a landscape buffer and evergreen trees in this area to help buffer any noise and of course the commercial use from residential use. As far as comp plan consistency, there are several items that it does follow. One of them is the balance between vehicles and pedestrians for commercial areas, short-term investment for infill in order to avoid significant capital improvements in greenfield areas. And there also this area here circled in red, which is the location. Actually, it should be scooted a little bit over to the east. But it does specifically discuss commercial development along Highway 72, and as a note of neighborhood commercial serving development should be established. That's a little bit different than what they're doing, but it is still a commercial development that will help people come to visit the city of Centerton. So it is commercial as far as that is concerned. And, would you like to go through the special conditions or some of the conditions currently, or after you get public comment?
I believe after.
Okay, I will wait on those. But that was the general background. Do you guys have any questions for me? Let me know.
Any questions from any of the commissioners before we open up the public? At this time, I would like to open this up to the public, so I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for Conditional Use 2110.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, before we get started here, I just wanted to summarize that we did receive some emails. There were some emails that were back and forth with people asking great questions, so I appreciate the public for asking and trying to get additional information. But I just wanted to give a quick summary before we open it up. The first couple of comments. One was decrease in property value, transitional housing comment, increase in crime and illicit activities, of course noise, policing of a 30-day stay, does not fit within the surrounding neighborhood, lack of notification to all surrounding subdivision residents by certified mail. The required 300 feet notification was followed. There was a note from our staff, and concerns on proximity to the public schools is the comments that we have received and have been so far.
And Jeff, if I may, there is one person that did specifically request that their email be read in the meeting. So if you'd like me to do it now or wait till everyone else is on their
Let's go ahead and start with that one so that I don't forget.
Okay, perfect. Because they did specifically ask, so I do follow instructions. This is from Doug Tapp. He is the Director of Planning at the City of Bella Vista. He states that I'm against the RV park on Highway 72 as it immediately adjacent to 3 new subdivisions. I live across the street from this inappropriate proposal. This is not the proper place for a camper park, and proposed proper zoning should prevent this. This will harm neighborhood desirability in the immediate area. There are $700,000 homes next door that pay a lot of taxes. Who wants to purchase a new beautiful home that literally touches a camper park? No one. Please leave this parcel for a more appropriate and desirable commercial amenity for your constituents. Please read this during the public hearing portion of the meeting, as I am out of town and unable to attend in person. Please vote no to the conditional use permit for this camper park. You did not provide an address, you just said that he lives adjacent to.
Thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
All right, we are now gonna open it up to the public. Again, we'll try to do this as orderly as we can, so if you'll come to the podium, name, address, and then your comments or questions that you might have.
My name is Dean Crowder. My address is 11682 West Highway 72. I live directly across the Highway 72 from this proposed development. I have nothing against RV parks. I've had numerous RVs since 1985, and I think it's an enjoyable way to travel with family and see things. So and we need one in this area. There's a need for an RV park in this area. I just think this is a very poor location for both. And I have a couple of items that I'd like to talk about. The first one is, it's already been discussed, the close proximity to residential houses and the fear that it's going to impact those houses, the value of those houses. The second one is that most RV parks are located in an area where they have off-street parking, where they don't, turn off the highway right into an RV park. They're located in an area where there's a lot of room when you pull in the evening, when a lot of people are coming into those parks. RVs can stack up 4, 5, 6, 8 units deep. You're not going to be able to do that on this location. This park doesn't allow for that. A lot of the RVs now, the serious people that have RVs, they run from, they have small RVs, people that can take them to the lake and close locations, but the people that travel a lot now are using RVs that can get up with a full vehicle or a motorhome with a car behind it. They can get up 60 feet long. That's the size of a semi tractor trailer running down the highway. The location of this one is on a curve. It's a busy highway, and a lot of people travel in groups. So the entrance to this has the capacity for 2 RVs side by side. That's all that's going to be able to get in there. So what happens at 5 o'clock on a Friday night when 6 40-foot RVs show up to pull into this park? They're going to be parked on the shoulder. They're going to be blocking the street. And I've seen this kind of a situation numerous times, because between 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the evening, where everyone is calling in the day with their travels, it can get pretty busy at the entrances of those RV parks. So to me, it's a real concern, and I think it's safety issues that maybe haven't been fully explored. There's going to be, I think in reality, I think it's a disaster waiting to happen with the location that this one's at. And it's, of course, the value of the property, as I said, was a concern also. I think there's going to be a lot of value lost in property, real estate, or residential property adjacent to this area. I've talked to an appraiser, real estate appraiser, trying to get an idea of what this impact would amount to. And it was, as he said, it was going to be hard to say, until it's in, what the impact is going to be for the residential people in this area. And he suggested, an appraisal before and after. But he was sure that there was going to be a considerable amount of loss in residential property values. So I'm most definitely against this one. I'd like to see an RV park go in. I think it's needed in this area, just not this location. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Chris Johnson. I live at 12184 Lost Oak Drive, just a little ways down. Like the noise complaints and the various things that have been brought up, we were talking about Bentonville West being very close to it. I would really hate for a brand new driver to get tied up in a bunch of RVs that are turning. These inexperienced drivers are, again, a disaster waiting to happen. The other thing that I would point out, we're as a city, you want to have more amenities for the residents there. We want to increase property values. With $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 homes, not only are you're dropping those values, and therefore you're reducing your overall tax revenue to the city. So yes, you'll gain a little bit from this RV park, but it's going to be a very negative. There's no redeeming value for those of us that live in the area. That's not, a car wash, a few of us use it, okay. But if you look back at who's going to actually be at this RV park, okay, so you may be 1, 2, 5 people visiting family. Most of them are going to be coming off of Highway 49. I live along, down Interstate 49. I live along 72. The amount of traffic that they're pulling, trucks that are pulling these larger RVs, I'm sorry, they're diesels, they are what they are. The amount of noise that's going to come over the fence into our homes is just not there. What I'm afraid is going to happen is these folks that have these higher end homes, 400, 500,000, they're just going to pick another area. These are folks that have options, and we just end up depressing the value. People go up otherwise. I think this area along here is just a model area of really nice homes, really done well. If you look at these houses, they're sitting on an acre. They're just nice, and they're getting, more and more of that good. I think it just spoils the pot. You're not going to have developers come in and want to do it because they're not going to get the rate of return that they are. So I would very much appreciate it if you'd say no. I don't think that this helps our community. In fact, it detracts from it. Thank you.
Anthony Rinaldi, 641 Rayburn Court. I'll try to keep my comments brief. I know there's several people on here. Just looking at it rationally, if I were to say, hey, I'm going to invite 15 of my closest friends over to camp next to your house for the next 30 days, and don't worry, they'll be really good and behave themselves, but I'll be leaving at 6 o'clock. They'll be left on their own. You wouldn't be too enticed by that prospect. In addition to the obvious concerns with property values, we call 72 a highway. That's pretty generous. We're talking about predominantly a one way the other way. If you have a single RV that breaks down, do no fault of the owner themselves. Not saying they're not going to take care of their equipment, but it breaks down for numerous reasons, like any car does. You have now cut off that entire section of town from accessing the amenities of the rest of the town of Centerton. Just to get from Orchard Park, where I live, to this very building requires a jackknife turn. An RV is not going to make that turn. What are they going to do? Well, they're going to benefit the city of Centerton. Are they going to be shopping at our stores? Are they going to be going to our restaurants? Absolutely not. They continue going down 72, which leads them directly into Bentonville. The money that they're going to be spending will go to Bentonville. The costs associated with policing in the area, the environmental damage potential for viscous chemicals used for cleaning out chemical toilets and reinstalling them are going to be Centerton's burden. It doesn't benefit the community in the town of Centerton, so I stand opposed to it. Thank you so much.
Good job. Hi, my name is Rick Sarmons. I live at 521 Portland Street in Orchard Park. I have a couple of questions first. Is there going to be a dump station here at this park?
I believe their intent is to provide storage to one of the spots.
Okay. Is it going to be paved? Or is it going to be dirty gravel?
Don't know yet.
Don't know yet.
Tonight, what we have to decide is if we want to approve it.
Okay.
Then the whole process from a development plan is next.
Okay. Well, not to reiterate too much, I moved up here from Louisiana to get away from all this crap. I was an RVer for years too. Most RVers, 90% of them, great people. RV parks, pretty good parks. A lot of noise, a lot of drinking, a lot of hooting and hollering. Okay. Do any of y'all live on that end of town?
Yes.
Close to it? Yep. Within 100 yards of it?
Oh,
okay.
But I live on 72.
Okay, that's fine. So, number one,
property values. Number two, you're gonna have trash all over the place. Number three, your police department is gonna be over there on a daily basis. There's gonna be arguments, there's gonna be tiffs, and there's gonna be all this stuff. I've seen it. I respectfully ask that you do not approve this. We're gonna have transient people coming in our neighborhood, walking their dogs on our sidewalks, even though they have a dog park. They're gonna say, oh, look, here's Orchard Park, they got sidewalks. Or here's Waterford, they got sidewalks. Let's go walk and see, look at how dog crap in the yard. That's not good. One child, do y'all know how many pedophiles travel in RVs? You gotta include all. There's a bunch of them. One child out of these subdivisions comes up missing. Way too many. One child. So I'm asking y'all not to do this. Number one, we don't need it. We don't need the hassle. We don't need the noise. We don't need the hassle. What we do need, in my opinion, would be a storage facility. A storage facility that can handle trailers and RV park, or RVs. It would be full within 30 days and stay full. That's my opinion. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
My name is Megan. I live at 3701 Ambrosia, and I had a quick follow-up question for Jason. I missed it. I know you said that there was 30 days for length of stay.
Jason.
Oh, okay.
He's over there. You can ask us.
You said that there's 30 days for length of stay, but is there a time limit between when they can return?
I mean, we have to do that. Yeah, I mean, I get your point.
Yeah, because pre-COVID there were 1 million Americans living in recreation vehicles full time, and since COVID that number's just increased with people selling their homes to take advantage of the real estate market, and then also having to purchase one because they can't re-enter the real estate market. And so not having a 30-day length of stay is kind of an exceptionally long amount of time, and then not having like a set time frame for like a return visit, stay for 30 days, leave for a day, come back for another 30 days, and then it just turns into a permanent facility for them to stay in. Also, just wanted to comment too, I only saw one trash receptacle on the plan, and it looked like it was closest to our neighborhood, so I didn't know if there could be potential to add another trash receptacle, or maybe move it to the side that's closer to the car wash to give like some additional space for that. And I wanted to follow up on the comment regarding sewage. Even in the best RV parks, there are still people that dump gray water or black water or sewage in locations that they shouldn't. So I feel like it should be, something that's more mandatory than intended for there to be a sewage plan, whether it's at each station or just one overall to serve the facility. And then just to follow up on general safety concerns, as a single female living in that neighborhood, it is kind of a concern for me to potentially have 50 to 100 of my new best friends camping next door to where my home is. That doesn't really feel safe, especially like he said, we want our children to be able to play in the front yards and stuff and not have to worry about their safety. And then also, just as another gentleman said, as a resident, I personally don't come into the town of Centerton that often. I will go up 72 to go into Bentonville or take 49. So I think that's also, if you're thinking it's going to drive a lot of traffic in for gas or for restaurants, I think that's kind of a point that's to be considered as well. Thank you for your time.
What was your last name?
Carrie, C-A-R-R-Y.
Hi, my name is Darshell Stevens, and I bought land here. Darshell, it's a hard one. I bought land here 6 years ago. I have about 100 family members in the area from Las Vegas, born and raised in California. Bought here to be in a nice, quiet neighborhood. We bought the Calder property, which is about 20 acres, which is directly where Doug Tapp is on Lost Oak, the first gentleman that wrote in. And I just concur with everything he says. I concur with everything that everyone here is saying. I'm completely opposed to the element. Coming from Las Vegas, I'm running from the element. I would like to be where it's safe. I have a 73-year-old mother living with me. I have my 14-year-old son, and we're going to start building within the next probably 6 months. And I'll make it short and sweet. I'm not very eloquent. I'm completely opposed Hi, I'm Christina Gross. I live in Orchard Park, and I really don't have much to say or add, but everybody else's concerns have been voiced so well. I just would ask that you would not consider this a problem.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Alarcon. I live on 3630 Macintosh Way. All my neighbors on this property in Marsh Park, they've been really clear on what our needs and what we want and what we don't. My house will be located right in the northwest over where you guys will be planning this. And I check it over there, right behind my yard, we have a trash. I don't know if that will be a trash dump or trash compactor, but just if we start thinking about it, we're people, what people do, trash. The more people we are, the more trash we will do. So what will create that? Rats, raccoons, possums, all the good stuff that we don't want in our yards, we don't want in our houses. Also, something that one of the neighbors mentioned, and it's really good. We all have kids, little small kids, 3, 5, 6 years old in our houses. They're all going around in the park, playing, calm down, and really nice, really fun. And we're gonna have to be worried now about like where they're gonna go, where are we taking our kids to? Because it's not gonna be a safety place no more. I've been times where I have left home and I have leave my garage open, and when I come back, all my values are still there. Right now, that's not gonna be the case anymore, because we all know our neighbors who we're living with, but we don't know who's gonna be living on those RVs. We don't know if there are crimes, if there are criminals, if there are rapists or something like that. So, with all due respect, I will ask you guys to go forward.
Yeah, can you give them your name, please?
I'm J-A-I-N-E.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Laura Killen. My husband and I live in Orchard Park at 611 Gala Circle. I believe you have the email that we sent last week. I would just like to say to you, I echo all the comments made by my neighbors, and what this RV park would do would be inspire us to leave. So with that said, we respectfully ask that you do not permit.
Hello, Amy Rochette at 3711 Bitterroot Street, and I am in Big Sky. First, I am completely opposed to this. I was opposed to the zoning in the first place from agriculture to C2, I think it is. So I am against this as well for all the reasons that have been said. I appreciate you guys and your attention. A lot of you guys are really paying attention to what is being said. Absolutely appreciate that. 72 West has become a nightmare already with traffic, and having an RV park there does not make sense. Usually RVers, I don't have one, I've never had one, but usually they go camping. They enjoy the scenery, they enjoy the outdoors. We have Blowing Springs Park in Bella Vista just for that. We have Devil's Den just for that. Centerton is not a camping place. If we want to make it a destination place, then let's pick a different place where RVers can go. We have neighborhoods all around us, just like everybody said. People know each other, we know our neighbors, we have people coming in and out, we don't know who they are. I believe Jason said that people will be staying for visiting families. How do we know that? Are we going to be checking that? How do we know? People are staying for 30 days. What's going to make somebody pull out of their spot after 29 days, drive around the corner, come back in? They tend to live there. Jason, I'm not sure if you live in this community, but obviously we love our community, and this is not a place for an RV park. It does not make sense. So I hope you guys are listening to everybody, and hope that you guys vote no on this, and thank you for your time.
I don't have to go too far. So my name's Donald Berg. I live at 11724 Alconberry Court. I'm the newest house there in Waterford Park. And so my house backs right up to the car wash. I do a picture I can show you that I took today from my porch. I will see clear into the RV park if this is approved. And they will see clear into my backyard if approved. Everybody probably here here to buy our house recently. We put a pool in, we've got it looking nice. We're heavily invested in this. I did 20 years in the Marine Corps and retired. I believe in American freedom. I believe you should own your land and you should be able to do what you want with it. I don't believe this is the right thing for us. Based on the criteria we heard in the first hearing of rezoning, of is it commensurate with the local area? Is it commensurate with the houses? Is it gonna be beneficial to anyone besides the property owner? I think all of those are a no. I don't know if you use the same criteria in this, but the way it sounds, there's not a person in here that's for it. There's not one. Jason didn't give in his address when he got up here, so I'm assuming he doesn't live close. I don't know the address of the owners of this property, but I'm assuming they're not gonna be in the backyard of this RV park. I own an RV. My son plays college football up in Oklahoma. I get in my RV every other weekend and I go watch him play football, baseball, sorry. I go watch him play. And we pull in these places sometimes. They're not the best. The best people aren't living there. I live next to the best neighbors in Orchard Park, Big Sky, and Waterford Park. That's why we chose it. That's why we worked really hard so we could be there. These aren't the best people that are gonna be coming through. Nothing against RVers. Again, I am one. I own one. I did it on purpose. But this is not commensurate with our community. So again, I oppose it. I think for all the right reasons. And if you can find anybody in this community, in any of those neighborhoods that are heavily invested, $500,000 homes all around us, if not more, that says it's a good idea, then I would ask that person to stand up and speak. But I don't think you're gonna find that person, so thank you. Don.
I'm Ryan Foster. I'm here on behalf of the Waterford Park POA. Donald, you want to run for president next time we
Found your replacement.
Found my replacement. I got to do with Waterford.
I just been here a year, man. I'm too new.
On behalf of the Waterford Park POA and the 19 homes that it represents, we all submit our request for you to object to this and deny the request. So that's 19 homes for all the reasons that have already been said, so I won't spend more time doing that. As a homeowner, similar to Donald, I live at 11848 Lakenheath Drive. My backyard sees clearly into this RV park. I would see everything from the rooftop of the RVs all the way down. If, for some unexplained reason, you do approve it, I would ask that part of it be a screen to block the south, or the homes that are on the south, that would be Waterford Park. You can't see it from here on the plat, but it would need to cover Donald's. We would still see the car wash. Here's the thing about that. The car wash was there when we went in. The car wash was there when we bought our homes. We knew about it. There's an RV park in Cave Springs. Houses have popped up all around it. Those houses knew that was there before they came. It was already existing. This is not, as has been said, commensurate with the existing structures in the area. So if you do, I would ask that it be at least a screen for the back, because we can see clearly into it. And then the final thing I would say on this, there's already been RVs that have taken up residence in this piece of property, single units. I will tell you, both times a unit has been set up at that location, police have been at my house for two different reasons. One, we received a notification that there was a sex offender living there. And there were multiple times the police visited that. I'm not saying that's who would be there, but I'm saying it's my experience. The second time, police showed up wanting to know if I had video footage of that property, because whoever's trailer was there was stolen, and they wanted to know if I had access to video. I haven't gotten around to doing that yet. So I'm saying we have two examples of RVs there that have resulted in negative effects in both Benton County and the San Police Department being involved. So on behalf of myself and the Waterford Park POA, we gladly ask you to object. Thanks.
My name's David Holman. Yeah, I bought a house in Waterford Park a year ago, which seems like just yesterday. But I came from, 2 minutes from the Pinnacle Mall in Rogers, and like the gentleman from Louisiana, that's why I wanted to get away. I wanted to buy a 1 acre lot, we're out in the country, I see several build caps here, so that kind of iterates that, we like the country life. We don't like the big city and the noise and things like that, but where my addition to this, I feel, is my grandparents used to own Silver Leak, trailer park in Winslow, and, they wouldn't, when I was a kid, they would say, do not go outside at night, do not go outside, by yourself, and that was the good old days when we didn't worry about, sex offenders and things like that, and, now it's in social media, so it just blows things up out of proportion, but the attraction of that Silver Leaf Trailer Park was Devil's Den, right there. I don't see any attraction, to, the middle of Centerton. We have maybe a few bike trails, but, the main bike trails are in Bentonville, and again, to iterate, those people are gonna, go into Bentonville, spend their money, come back, so it doesn't benefit, the people. And of course, the devaluation of my $625,000 investment that I spent a year ago, which is hopefully worth a little bit more. And I hope that when I do sell it, it's not a $300,000 investment. Thank you very much. I ask you to deny the application.
Hi, Joel Earl. Joel Earl.
Thank you.
I'm hearing all these comments. I've been RVing for 20 years myself. When I first heard about this, I thought it was a good idea until I realized the location. I'm not on that side of town, so it wouldn't really affect me. But everybody I know, all my family, they all RV. So I first thought, oh, that would be perfect. They can stay there because they all have RVs. In my experience, RVs are expensive. Gas is expensive. I probably go out once a month at least with my family. I walk the neighborhoods. I walk our dogs. So I don't know where half of these people are getting that. But that being said, I don't think it's the right location for that type of park. Usually, like we say, we go to like the forests, we go to the rivers, we go to those places. But when I first read about it, I thought it was a good idea because I'm into RVing. We do it every month. I have family that would love to come visit us, and they could stay there, but it's just in the wrong location for me. It either needs to be way closer to the highway and not in the city or not around houses, and we don't typically stay in a place like that. So that's all I got to say.
Hi, y'all doing? My name is Mario Yarnell Gonzalez, and I live in Orchard Park. And so all the things that the people have said, I agree with. But the one that is the most present to my heart is our children. And I have a teenage daughter that can go to our neighborhood very safe, walk the dog, and come home. As it is, even like that, we keep a pretty close eye on her, obviously. But at the same time, we have already had 2 occasions that a car that comes from 72, which we don't know, it comes from Oklahoma, one of them, and one of them was from California, and it started talking to her. So even in that 72, there's danger with other cars coming from the highway. Okay, but here's the other thing: is that sex trafficking is huge. If you agree with me. And then also, not just that sex trafficking. There's people we don't know. People are gonna come, and the danger for our kids to disappear and try to find them is minimal. So for all the reasons that they talked about that are very important, but the most important is our community and our children and the future for this country and our city. And that's what I have to say. Yes, Mario Yarnell.
Mary McDaniel, 11624 Teddington Court. I live in Waterford Park. Thank you for listening to all of us. Obviously, this is important and near and dear to our hearts. The big part, right, I'm not going to reiterate, traffic's a problem. road conditions are a problem, lots of concerns, right? The investment property value tax is down. I think about the payment of resources for this city, and I'm concerned about think about how inconsistent and unknown the traffic, the people that pull on resources, emergency vehicles, police. So that unpredictability costs the city even more money than if you can plan a normal Friday night, right? You also have your Friday night check-in times. People talked about it. There's no way that 2-lane highway. On my way to work today, I passed 5 18-wheelers coming south on 72 from 49. Like Friday evenings, having that backlog of people trying to pull in with 18-wheelers and traffic and drivers, like it just does not make sense in that space. We're guaranteed to have more emergency vehicles, more policemen, and more strain on the city government, on the city resources. So please do not.
Hi, good evening. Fallon Curry, and I'm a resident of Greenstone, my husband and I. Also, everybody's already stated everything, so we don't have to reiterate again. But I do not agree with this location, traffic, the children. Of course, I don't have children, I do have nieces and nephews, and it's not going to be safe for one. Coming from family with law enforcement background, I talked to both my father and grandfather, and they said absolutely, like, do not do it. It's a crime. We don't need it. We don't need it in location. Traffic backed up. We're going to have that even worse on 72. Talk about on-site staff being just one person checking somebody in and out. Having them 18-wheelers or the sides of 18-wheelers backed up there. That's not what we need on 72 right there. So just the location is not okay. So I'm not for this.
Tim Choate, Waterford Park. One reason why I'm opposed to this is because I grew up in a trailer park, RV park, when I was younger. And, we talk about this RV park and how nice it's going to be. You're going to have the nice trees, you're going to do all this. And I think we're looking short term of what it'll look like from the get-go. And of course, the trailer park, RV park I grew up in, my mom always said it was nice when it was first built, but over time they let it go. And that's when all the transient people, I've seen overdoses, where my friends died from drugs, domestic abuse, 2 women fighting underneath my dad's our trailer when I was like, what's that noise outside? And there was nothing as time went on. An RV park is going to look like Orchard Park, Waterford Park, and all these other subdivisions. We keep our yards manicured. We have, lawn companies come out to keep them straight and seeded. I don't think an RV park's going to look like that 5 or 10 years from now. And I think that's what we're missing. And to say that, well, people are going to come overnight and then they're going to leave. Okay, you could say that, but you really think that that's the only people that are going to come stay here? Eventually, it's not going to be that. And that's really where I'm opposed. I live next to Donald, and my house backs up, the back of my house backs up to the highway. I'm right there. And my kids, they're outside playing basketball, football, baseball. We have all the neighborhood kids coming to our house. And to know that is right on the other side of that car wash where my kids are real close to the highway, I don't think I could even let them play outside. Or I'm going to have to be out there with them. I like everybody said, I think it's, when you think about sex trafficking, the kids, and like Ryan said, the cops came to my house. Hey, do you know anything about that RV that was there? It looks like it's been stolen. No, I don't. I just think it's bad, and that's the reason I'm against it. And I just really hope you guys take that into consideration and vote no.
Thanks, Jim.
I'm John Harvester, and I live at 600 Gallo Circle in Orchard Park. And I'm going to keep this pretty short, but we retired here 2 years ago. We looked the area over and wanted to live in Centerton because we thought it was a nice place to live. But we are very concerned about this RV park, and we would appreciate you considering the no vote.
Thanks, Albert Hill, 730 Melrose Place in Orchard Park. There's not really much more to say. You guys are obviously elected to hear what we have to say, and I think enough's been said, and we really hope that you work
call for anyone who wishes to speak before we vote. And we'll do a third and final call for anyone who wishes to speak in regards to the conditional use 2110. All right, with that, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
This is Joey, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for conditional use 2110.
Second. Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Yes. You come up now if you'd like.
I just like to know everybody gets everybody in the room. I hate being what everybody hates in the room, but I'll try to go through these one at a time. Again, my name's Jason. Expedience of Engineering. Yeah, if this would, I tell you what, let's do this. Is this on?
Yes.
I'd like to just start by thank you for your time to listen to everybody's concerns. We know that if we were the property owner, we probably want the same extension of your time if we live there as well. However, I would like to point out a few things that I thought were incorrect, or at least in my belief, I think are incorrect. The belief that this would decrease property values. Now here's the question.
Can we respect the speakers? I didn't hear anybody laugh at anybody when they got up, so I would ask that you respect each and every person that gets up here and speaks tonight.
If anybody's ever bought a house and looked at an appraisal, they appraise the house that you're looking at buying based off of 3 comps within the area of similar square footage and similar value that they base their appraisal on. They don't go look at the RV part and base your appraisal off of that. They base it off of 3, and it has to be within a 5-mile radius. How do I know that? Because when I purchased my house, I looked at the appraisal, and that's what it had to be. It was 3 comps within the general area of the same size. An RV park is not a house, so they're not going to include that in the comp. If that makes sense. That's my first point. The second point is the traffic queuing. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware that Highway 72 has 8 to 9 foot shoulders on it. So there is a place for traffic to back up if they didn't have enough room all to get in. If they had 4 or 5 units coming in at the same time. Please keep in mind, this is only 50 spaces too. This is not 100 or 150, it's 50. Whether it's full at all times, certain times of year, summer, it could be. People are RVing across the country a little more and looking for a night stop. But we could always look at, I think that's an item that could be worked out with engineering, provide a decel lane, things like that. I don't think that's something that would stop the project. I think that you could put in a lane to allow that queuing. I've seen that done before. Chemicals from cleaning the RVs. I'm an RVer. The most I ever use is I put down a chemical in my toilet to keep the smell down while I'm in my unit. But if they're direct, the thing with RVs is there's a connection. Each spot is going to have a direct connection, but we don't leave it open, because if you leave the both valves open for your gray water and your black water, they'll plug the system up. So what you do is you leave it closed. And you have gauges inside your RV, and once those become full, you would go out and pull the gray water first, or the black water first, and then chase it with the gray water. That's going to be directly connected to the city of Centerton sanitary sewer main that we're going to extend to the side. And each lot will have one of those services on it. Trash all over the place. As the developer has stated, and we'll state it here again, they're going to have a groundskeeper there to keep the place picked up. It was mentioned that also that the RV park could become unsightly over a period of years. The difference between that gentleman that spoke mobile home park, RV park, is that it may have not had a conditional use attached to it. Your recourse, if that were to happen, is you can always pull that conditional use permit from them. It's not a permanent once it's granted. If the property is ever sold, the conditional use, if I'm not mistaken, Jeff, you you can correct me, or some of the planners can correct me, if it's ever sold, the conditional use doesn't go with it. That new owner has to come back before this planning board to get reapproval of that conditional use permit.
Actually, I think as long as the same use, it would
Is it the
continue
same
with
use?
it. But they would have to apply, they would have to abide by the same conditions.
Conditions
that are
that we're
put on it,
saying.
yes.
South screening, providing screening on the south side, I think that's a fair thing to request, and I think that that's something that the developer could do. As far as security, we could place fencing around all sides to make sure that there's only the ins and the exits and those can be policed. If you only have one point in, one point out. And it can be tall enough to keep kids from coming in there without someone noticing and that sort of thing. There was comments about traffic concern. Okay, this is zone C2. There's a lot of uses that could go there. They could be, if you were to look at the International Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual, the use of an RV park would be quite less of trip generations produced versus other types of uses like a convenience store or a strip mall or those things. So traffic, I believe, if this is not allowed, there could be something that could be put in there that would provide more traffic in the area. Also, all those same things about sex pedophilers and all that would be the same for all those uses as well. So I just want this board to understand that don't pick on the RV park, that there's several uses that are allowed by right that would create that same type of use. And I think that's all I have. And I guess the only question I would have is, if you were to vote tonight, because I'm entertaining the idea of tabling it, how would this board vote if I could ask that question? Would they
can't ask that.
Can't answer that question.
I don't think we can.
says I can't have.
Right.
No, but I think you can sit back and listen to us discuss it.
Yeah. And then we could just.
We'll still give you the opportunity to ask for a table. If that's what you want.
Yeah.
Before we take the vote.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Can we rebut what he just said?
Yeah.
Okay, we close the public hearing.
Okay.
I'm actually
Yes. Okay, some of these.
Excuse me, I think that you guys will want to continue to hear what we're going to discuss, so I would ask that you maintain order. Will you go through the special proposed conditions plan?
Yes, there are special conditions. Some of these are conditions that go with every conditional use, and some of these are also conditional uses specific to this property. The terms of approval, the term of approval is for an indefinite period of time, or the use of recreational vehicle park is discontinued, subject to the compliance with all conditions of approval. Approval of this permit expires upon discontinuation of the approved use after 1 year and will require reapplication and reapproval. The use permit is not transferable to other entities at this site. Setbacks, they do have to follow all setbacks that are required in the C2 zoning. So from the front, there is 50 feet from the planning right-of-way, and the right-of-way on Highway 72 is 100 feet, so they would be an additional 50 feet from that 50 feet of right-of-way that's required on their side. So that much from the road. Also, the minimum from the rear property, from the property line or center of an alley on a side street is 25 feet. Each side is a minimum of 10 feet from the property line. They do have to provide a large-scale development plan application. And like I did state earlier, they have submitted a plan. We've only reviewed it once, and it has to go to the Planning Commission before there's final approval of their large-scale development. And of course, that does hinge on the decision tonight because it cannot go forward without a conditional use. Maintenance, the property owner is responsible for maintaining the premises in good, clean, and unhazardous conditions. ADA accommodations, I guess I could, no, put it still on the screen. The applicant is encouraged to provide ADA accommodations, however, owner accepts the liability if it is non-ADA compliant. Screening, as Jason has stated earlier, the property owner will install a 6-foot privacy fence anywhere that a privacy fence does not exist on the rear of the lots of Orchard Park, and possibly to the south also from the conversation earlier. And also on that west property line, they do have a 25-foot green space that will have evergreen trees, and which shall also be constructed. Jason did provide an image tonight, but unfortunately I don't have it to show on the screen because we just received it earlier. Donna is holding it up if y'all would like to look at it. And any storage of outdoor material must be screened from the public view, and that also goes for, you know, any dumpster enclosures or anything like that must be screened from view. It is for you guys' consideration that any additional landscaping or screening along Highway 72 be required, and Jason did mention screening there on the south side of the property also. As far as lighting, there has not been a photometric plan, but one is required with the large scale development. Planning does recommend that they have lighting at least on Highway 172 so that when people come in at night, they can see where the entrances are. So that's consideration for you guys. Noise, the property owner shall be responsible for ensuring, can't talk any longer, that the RV park visitors comply with any City of Centerton noise ordinances, and we do have a municipal code for noise ordinance, and I do believe that quiet time does start at 10 p.m. every day, and that's required for all people living within the City of Centerton. Trash disposal, there will be a dumpster located near the north entrance of the property. They are required to provide details of those dumpsters. We do require them to be screened with either brick or some sort of durable enclosure, because you don't want it to get all torn up, and wood fences do not do well over time for dumpster enclosures. Residential compatibility standards. The City Council just approved residential compatibility standards that they will follow from this, and they are intended to protect low-density residential uses in neighborhoods from the adverse impacts sometimes associated with higher density residential uses and non-residential development. The standards are intended to mitigate the effects of uses with operating and structural characteristics that are vastly different from those associated with single-family uses. And Jason, if you don't already have that, I will send it to you. That was just approved by City Council after the Planning Commission did recommend that. And that will help with location of the dumpster and screening and different things like that they do have to follow. As far as building, any portable building shall be either constructed on a permanent foundation or a temporary foundation with sufficient screening so as not to be visible. Screening may include, but is not the only things that you could do, but like evergreen plantings, wood fencing, or other materials approved by the Planning Commission. That is for y'all's consideration. These are just our general conditions. Scroll so y'all can see it on the screen. That will be helpful. The general conditions, these go with every single conditional use permit. If there's going to be any signage, there is a requirement of a signage permit, and that is applied for through Public Works Department. Public health inspections, of course, they would have to get ADH approval for their water and sewer system and follow any compliance as far as with the Department of Public Health. They will have to have a business license from the City of Centerton and any other required permits and licenses from city, state, and or federal. Any future modifications on the site, any changes to the landscaping, parking areas, etc., may require separate review and approval of such plans. They comply with applicable sections of City Code. Periodic review. This permit is subject to review by Planning Commission or code enforcement personnel for compliance. And should any issue arise which affects public health, safety, and welfare, this conditional use can be revoked. Complaints. If any complaints are received from neighbors or city personnel, this permit may be brought back to the Planning Commission for consideration of amending terms or revoking the permit. As far as for basis of termination, violation of any listed conditions could be the basis for terminating a conditional use permit and this approval granted by the Planning Commission. And that's what we have as far as that. And of course, if there's anything that you guys see necessary that you would like to see as an additional condition of the use, you of course may also put those forward.
I would like to open it up to the commissioners for any questions, comments, concerns, any discussion that you'd like to have at this time.
Do you have the list of approved C2 uses?
I can pull that up if you give me just a second. Of course not. Well, it's not letting me into. Hang on a second, I might have it somewhere else. So hold that thought.
This is good for that, Jeff. I'd like to comment. The first comment I have is,
I have to VPN in.
conditional use is for an indefinite period of time, which I have a definite problem with that. Second of all, this is the commercial zoning reserved for commercial property. I don't see this being a commercial use for commercial property. I think that's when we got a conditional use. I do think that there is potential for traffic, and just in my opinion, while I do agree that we probably do need more spaces, my thoughts on an RV park is it a destination? My spot is for destination places. For example, you have football stadiums, they have RV parks next to them. You have casinos, they have RV parks next to them. They have businesses or some sort of attraction that would attract RV here. This is definitely a spot for just people to come stay the night and move on, or to other people's concern could be a 30-day move your trailer around, come back 30 days because they have no other way to live that way. So I just have a lot of issues with this. So I know Joey's asking for our feel, or my feel, what our feel. My feel is it's not a suitable spot for this type of conditional use.
Hey Jeff, while we're looking for that C2, Mike,
Todd can't hear us as well.
Todd, can you hear me now?
Thank you.
My question about the uses for C2 was talking about the commercial land, and we've been very, I would say, picky about using commercial land on the side of town, as we don't have a lot of commercial space that supports a growing residential space on the north side of town. We've given up some of that commercial land to the south, but I don't know if it would be a good idea to give up commercial space to the north, even though this may be a use under C2, that wouldn't be a use that supports the residential area around it. So, which I think is the real intent of the commercial space, is to support the residential growth.
I'll add to that. You know, when we did the comp plan, I was kind of adamant that we needed to focus on the 72 corridor. Lots of houses, you know, I understand that, but it's also our artery to bypass, you know, that is potential future commercial land, and these citizens out here might hate me because I might be part of the reason that that parcel is zoned commercial. But regardless of that, I think this is specifically why we have the conditional use required on any RV park. I don't feel that it's best suited next to residential developments. So I think regardless of traffic screening, where they're going to spend their tax dollars I mean, all of that's important, but I don't think it's good next to any sort of established residential zones. And, you know, again, that's why this is commercial, so we can evaluate everyone on a case-by-case basis. I don't feel
I'm still working on it. My computer's not cooperating with me. Anyway.
I just wanted us to see the list. That
Yes.
way we can look at most of the things on that list support the residents of that area. Gas stations and things of that nature, fast food places, they support people that live there. Right? Service industries, exactly. I wanted us to see that list, to see this, you know. I don't know that a park would support the citizens around it.
Yeah, and I think by nature it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, Diane does have a couple of those examples in case she can't pull the entire list up.
I'm getting there just very slowly.
As far as service station, you know, restaurant, hotels, market, things like that.
No, it's just going super slow.
Potential of event center, you know, golf, I'll call it, or outdoor activities, and various other things in regards to potential.
No, that would have been a smart thing for me to do. I have a hard copy too, not kidding. Well, now it's like a thing,
So,
maybe.
I know that Ben is.
He's on the phone.
He is too.
Yes,
On
he is,
phone.
and phone.
Does Ben have any comments that he would like to share?
Ben, you're unmuted if you'd like to speak.
Yeah, I agree with John and Joey on something is the perfect place and need more services to support those residential.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay, C2, like residential rehabilitation, arena, auditorium, convention center, and these are permitted by right, not conditioned, because we might be here forever.
I don't necessarily want to go through.
Okay.
150 of them that are listed on there.
Oh, come on.
They're mostly.
The thing there.
Yes. But let's leave it up just in case. Any other comments, questions, concerns from the commissioners? Jason, I thought at one point, and maybe I read it a little too early, that there was a discussion, or at least a note, I could have sworn that I saw, with a focus of bike type folks that would come to town and some other things. I didn't see any of that in here this evening, and maybe I just read it early on, or I don't think I dreamt it, because I remember going through the documentation. So I think there are potential of some I'll call them transient folks that are going to be coming to town. It's a reality. Now, it's not described in this manner as that. It's truly described as an RV park, which I think is a different group of folks. All you have to do is follow what happens in the area, and these people are coming. They purposely build trails, and they build some other support mechanisms to support them. But in my opinion, this one doesn't support that. It truly supports more of that transient. And I understand the potential concerns with having to monitor the 30 days and some other things. So I think we've heard from the public. I made a note there was 21 folks. We actually did receive an email of somebody that I wouldn't say supported, but they weren't against it. So we did actually have someone, and they do actually live in Orchard Park. So we did have a resident that spoke, I'll call it in favor for lack of a better word. So, with that, Jason, I will now offer you the opportunity for us to take into consideration this evening, or if you'd like for us to take a vote.
Just go ahead and vote.
Okay. All right. I would entertain a motion for the conditional use 2110 It's RV Park. Again, it's at 11673 West Arkansas Highway 72. It is C2, just over 6 acres, and the request was for a recreational vehicle park.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to deny conditional use 110, it shall be required.
There's no second.
We have a motion, and we have a second to deny, and if we can do a roll call vote.
So, just be clear.
Yes is a, we're gonna
Yes.
do, guys, we're gonna,
Do not
let's,
Brian. So,
we
just
just-
so we're
the
not
motions need
confused.
to be in the affirmative.
Did you motion to deny? Yeah, he motioned to deny.
So how are they?
So the motion should always be to
It should
approve.
be in a motion to approve.
And then you vote.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve conditional use 2110, it shall be required.
Okay, now we're voting. No.
Yes.
No. Okay.
Sorry, Brian, we're not on the same page.
All right. You wanna start with Ben?
Sure. Ben?
Okay. Devin Murphy?
No.
Jerry Harris?
No.
Tony Davis?
No.
Joan Sessions?
No.
Joey Eagle?
No.
Craig Langford?
No.
Jeff Saber?
No. Thank you, Jason. Thank you to the public that was here this evening.
Thank you.
I mentioned that before. I
thought we talked about we would make it in the.
No, I actually read the rules and orders book one day. That's why I saw it. Like, oh, basically.
Well, we had done it, and, you know, municipal league says everything should be affirmative. Robert's Rules of Order say it should be. It lessens the confusion 6 months later when we're trying to figure out what in the world you guys.
That's why I confused Jeff one day. I said, I motioned to approve, and I said no. He said, but you just motioned to approve.
But it sounds awkward when you're making the motion. Yeah.
So if nobody made a motion to approve, then it would just die for lack of.
Lack of motion.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and.
Yes.
We're gonna go ahead and get started on the next thing on the agenda this evening. Again, I'd just like to remind all the commissioners and everybody as you speak into the microphones that we can have good notes for this evening. So the next item on the agenda is for the planned unit development, 2104 Tierra Rose. It is at 148 Cedar Road. It is C3. It's 19.5 acres. And is the applicant here to give us an overview?
You might not want that.
Yeah, I'm a little offended right now. Good evening, everyone. My name is Josh Isabel. I'm the owner of the property. So, first off, I just kind of wanted to intro a little bit of background. We've owned this property for a few years now. Tried to spend some time thinking about what would be a good use, right? This is a residential, this is a neighborhood commercial property, so C3. We have residences surrounding the property, and so it's important to get it right. And we've taken a few attempts at thinking through what would serve the community around our property. So with that, I'd like to just give a quick overview of the planned unit development. So the first thing we're most excited about is the full-service recreational facility that will include a family pool, a lap pool, indoor and outdoor basketball courts, indoor-outdoor pickleball court, a weight room, a cycling room, a multi-purpose instructor-led fitness room, outdoor walking trail, and on-site daycare center. And that on-site daycare is separate than the commercial daycare that will also be on site. The next building is a commercial daycare. My sister is the owner of Casa Castillo. That was the original reason we bought this property. The daycare will go back there in the northwest corner. On that note, everything that's backing up to Chatty Drive was designed to be done and empty by 5 o'clock, right? So we put offices back there by those houses. We put the daycare back by the houses to try to create, just a lesser intense use back next to our neighbors. The other buildings on the property, like I mentioned, 2 small-scale professional office buildings. Those are right there along the Boulevard Street. A single building, 2-story neighborhood storage building. So the key thing on the storage building, there's no outdoor storage. This is gonna look and feel like an office building, but it's gonna be for storage. It's gonna look and have the same outside facade as the fitness center. So we wanted to create like 2 sister-looking buildings and create a nice boulevard street down the middle. And then the last thing along Seba Road is a small retail plaza, convenience store, and restaurant building. On the corner is the convenience store. On the PUD, we removed those road entrances because there was concern from the planning staff about access there. The restaurant is in between the storage building and the convenience store. And then lastly, the retail, you see the 2 retail buildings right there. Uses for those retail buildings would be things like a barber shop, salon, probably a drive-through coffee shop, things that would be used by the surrounding neighborhoods. So with that, that's a high level. We do have a few more renderings if you want to quickly go through those pictures.
Let me see if there were additional.
And then we also prepared a video, a slideshow video that may be helpful. Are we going to be able to see that?
I'm going to give it a whirl.
Okay. As she's pulling that up, the thing that's probably the most questionable is the storage building, right? We tried to create a mixed use development here, and to give a lot of different things. The storage building, again, is going to look like an office building. It's going to be nicer, have a very similar feeling as the fitness center. This is a lot of land, right, to do all commercial, 20 acres, in the climate and environment that we are with post-COVID. We considered other things. Should we do all office park? Is that the right decision? Should we do apartments? Is that the right decision? We kind of landed on, let's do a mixed-use development, and we needed a healthy mix of different things, and we can't make the financials work without some storage. It's very hard to do. I think we can do it elegantly. We went to a single building, 2 stories. It's not going to feel like a storage building. And I do believe that there's good use for storage in our area. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. And the most exciting thing, we're not going to make much money on this fitness center. The fitness center is not a money-making proposition. It's going to bring in revenue to the city, but it's not a profitable endeavor, right? Real profitable. Our family is going to own this whole property, and we just needed a healthy mix when we looked at the financials. We had to have a mix of uses. We had to, or else we couldn't figure out how to make the money work.
Are you going to develop it in phases, or did you get that right?
We have talked about phases. So, and I think the phases are slightly, that's one. So currently the daycare is phase 1. Phase 2 is the mini storage and fitness center. Those 2 buildings we would do at the same time. We will do the fitness center and the mini storage at the same time. It's hard to develop we have 2 roads we have to put in. We have sewer we have to put in. We have to do a good chunk of the development at the same time. So it says phase 2 is mini storage and phase 3 is the fitness center. That's gonna be back to back. They're gonna be right, you know, in conjunction with one another. And then the other phases are listed, and we'll probably go through that with staff comments.
Thank you.
Donna, do you want to give us a staff review?
All right, so, this one is, about 20 acres. There is a mix of uses, so, with them, some of them are allowed by right, some of them, the child care commercial is allowed by right, there is the existing hospice CO, which would be relocated to the northeast corner. Gen office is a use that's permitted by right. Recreational facility indoor would typically require a conditional use permit in the zoning district. Is neighborhood commercial. Restaurants would typically require a conditional use, as would mixed retail and fuel stations. The warehouse and mini storage. Use that we requested that would not be generally allowed at all in this district. So when we received this request, that's where the discussion came to restricted to indoor venue with strictly climate control with no outdoor storage. So the request is for with the community will be entirely owned by the Isabel, which is consistent with the PUD code. The design does place the structures generally to the outside with the parking contained inside. There is a street connection that's going to be connecting to Spur, which will be adjacent street connection, so will allow the neighbors to go in and connect to the adjacent road. There are a connection with trail and loop around the whole commercial section, so there will be the option for people who are working there to walk. There's also going to be sidewalk improvements along the roads, so there will be improved pedestrian access. Commercial zoning districts do not have a density cap, so that section of the PUD code does not really apply to this, nor do the accessory buildings. For open space, this is 15% minimum for commercial districts. This plan has currently proposed as about 32%. So it is exceeding what is required for the there is about 0.48 acres in a retention pond, and there's no portion of the site that is above 50%. You've seen some renderings of what they're currently proposing for architecture, because it's consistent with the code. The parking is, sorry, what's currently shown is 665. With removing it, we think what's currently shown will definitely work. We'll, of course, we'll do that further with the large scale development. One entry sign is we proposed at Commercial Drive. This is part of a commercial park, commercial area that is noted in the commercial plan, which is specifically listed as a larger neighborhood commercial development, which emphasizes the ability to serve the entire northern half of the city rather than just adjacent residences. Capacity and scale necessitate stronger design standards to ensure compatibility with neighboring residential. So given the mix of uses and what is being proposed and the conditions where we can limit it to neighborhood commercial, I think that this has the capacity to be able to really make a dent and be able to serve a lot of the city as far as commercial in this area. So there will need to be a dedication plan before you do any commercial in order to dedicate right of way for utilities and that sort of thing. The streets aren't private. So right of way on the adjacent streets, and then the internal to the private. And there will be sidewalk improvements, and then the loop trail around the edges. So if you'd like, we can discuss the conditions after public comment, like we did last time.
All right.
It's that is with the community, we can make changes to the underlying process.
All right, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to open public hearing for the land use development 2104
This is John. I'll motion to open the public hearing for land use development 2104 Terra Rose.
Tony, a second.
Motion and a second, is anyone opposed? All right, as before, if you wish to speak or have any questions or comments in regards to the plan of development, we ask that you go to the podium, name, address, and any questions, comments, or concerns that you might have.
Zach Vasquez, 1200 Chatty Drive. I think when we bought our property, we knew that property was going to get developed. It's gonna happen. And I think everybody on the street has a different outlook on it, maybe, because everybody has something different behind it. All in all, the overall plan, I'm okay with. My issues are, one, there's a spur road owned by the city. It doesn't exist yet, but this proposal shows a road, private road coming into this development, and then opening this commercial and office space development directly into a residential street. All this is gonna do, we already have problems with people trying to skip the light at Gamble and Seba. They cut through our neighborhood, speed down the streets, all the high school kids and other people, even the school buses. If we have this road, another access point, now they're gonna have two lights they can skip. The light we put in at Seba and Main for safety reasons, so people weren't making left turns and getting hit. Now that's a moot point because we got a new place for them to make a left turn without a light. But the only people that are gonna fully use that road coming into our neighborhood are gonna be people cutting through to skip the lights. They're gonna speed through. My kids, I have 3 kids playing outside. All of my neighbors have kids playing outside. You drive through that neighborhood, there's kids everywhere. And we've already had a lot of issues with speeding, and this, I feel, is going to compound that exponentially. My other issue is I'm all for a walking path, but I didn't see anything on here for a buffer. All of us, most of us have 4-foot fences or no fences. Is there, I don't know if there's anything in this plan to raise those fences, build fences, any kind of visual or sound buffer. So that's my two major concerns on this, is the extra traffic and cut throughs, and again, the walking path. Like for that street, I struggle to see any logical reason for it to dump into a subdivision. There shouldn't be any reason that people are going to those offices. I mean, there could be a couple of people from the neighborhood that work, but overall, I don't see any reason that people coming into that development, to those offices, to the restaurant, at the gas stations, whatever, need to have a street dumped straight into a residential area.
Hi, my name is Shauna Robertson, and I live at 1250 Chatty Drive. I looked at the plans, they all look great, but I do agree that that Isabella Road or Isabella Boulevard that cuts into the neighborhood, I feel again that that's just going to add more traffic. There's probably going to be some incidences that kids might be getting hit. Like you said, there's kids all over the place. We have young families buying houses, and they're starting the third phase of the back of the neighborhood. So I feel that that probably isn't a safe place to put a road right dumping into a neighborhood. There are a lot of children riding bikes. There are little children there that, you know, don't necessarily know to look left and right. My children are old enough that they can play outside, but they're still absent-minded 12 and 11-year-old boys. But my other concern is the barrier between my backyard and the walking trail. Again, like we said, there's nothing in here says about a fencing, how far, if the fence is going to be tall enough that people aren't looking into our backyards. I know some of our neighbors have pools. That is not something I want. If we're planning on trying to get a pool, I don't want some person walking down this walking trail looking into my backyard. And also, if you are putting a barrier, is there something that we can put, a huge mound, we can put trees that are going to grow and kind of block some of the light, sound barrier for noise. Also, how far from the property, from our property line, is going to be the walking trail, or when the buildings are going to be from our backyard, and where are the trash cans going to be? I don't want a trash can in my backyard where I can smell it. Where again, rats, raccoons, possums, all the things that come out at night, and they're in my backyard. That's not something, you know, I want my dogs to get into, you know, in my backyard, anything like that. So those are just my concerns. It looks great. The whole plan looks like a really good idea. I think that would be a really good development for the Senator property. But again, the safety of my children running around in the neighborhood, the cut-throughs, people looking in my backyard, and the lights, you know, at midnight, what is that going to look like when it's shining in my house, in my room? That's not something that I want when I've spent, you know, nice money on my house. Now, it wasn't anything like the last hearing that we had, but, you know, I've lived there for 7 years. I liked looking at the cows. Now I have to look at office buildings and huge lights and all these things. And I'm just wondering, what is this, how is this going to benefit me? And also how I'm going to keep my kids safe, and how is it still going to be looking nice when I walk in my backyard? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Down Lakeside, 1231 Shaddy. I generally don't have any problem with this. My questions are this. Main Street is pretty small, and to be able to support this kind of a district, it's obviously going to have to be widened to the road plan. What are the triggers that build out the road of Main Street to its planned sizes?
Yeah, I mean, it's a state highway. So because it's a state highway, we're dependent on the state to monitor, if you will, and determine when's the appropriate time for them to, whether it's expand or whatever it might be.
That's my first concern, and that's my concern for the property owner, because obviously there's a lot of traffic that goes up and down in there. You can see that, a lot of school get out. That's my first concern. Second concern is, or question is, I believe the lighting and landscaping plans, I mean, if you go forward today, those things are also still considered for, you know, the further builds, if you will. There's plans and those types of things. So things like when the lighting is on or what kind of landscaping is involved is really something that's decided kind of later, right? Correct. Yeah. So is the plan for, at the master plan, Main Street 102 kind of makes a curve and then goes up and meets with 72 and a different, not to the right, if you will, for me it's the right, you know, up into the left, up in behind our neighborhood. Is that also state highway zoning in there, or is that also state highway extension when it makes that corner? Because right now 102B cuts across and enters lower next to,
so all of Main Street, or 102B Spur, I think is also the other name, is known as, is all highway. Right. Including around Highway 72.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, did I miss the?
Well, no, you're fine, but when we have a development of this size, they would normally do a traffic study to determine what those would be taken over. The highway department.
The state would do that?
No, the developer would be responsible for the traffic study. And the highway department would be required to.
It could be a decel lane returning into the property. That's all to be determined by the traffic study.
Let me ask you this. I noticed on the road plan that is considered a minor arterial, at least between Seaver Road and the proposed connection to 72. The Seaver Road to 102 on Main Street is supposed to be boulevard, 100 row, versus an 80 row in that one space. What method do we have to extend that 100 row? That would be a boulevard, be just a major arterial from 72 down through that whole area. Is that something you guys talk about, or?
Yep, it would be something that we could talk about. So we do a couple of different things. One is a master street plan.
Right.
One is a comprehensive plan, and a land use plan. And so what we would have to do is we would hear somebody such as yourself that says, hey, why is this different than the other, and can it be changed? So then we would have a consideration, if you will. We would talk amongst ourselves, staff, potentially highway, folks that we would have access to. Right. And then there's a public hearing that would happen if we were to make a change to it. And then with that public hearing, then it could be implemented, and then it's a plan going forward. It's a plan. Right. There's nothing, I don't want to say nothing.
Doesn't necessarily mean it gets built. Right.
Correct. So that's how we would potentially make a change.
I get that.
But correct me if I'm wrong, both of these are 50-foot half sections, so 100 foot.
They're 100.
They're both 100.
Is it, because when I looked on the plan, it said, I thought it said 80, it was a minor arterial, which I got as 80.
I'm basing off these plans that go.
Oh, here, I'm talking about beyond this, and now you've got the connection to 72, which isn't there yet, basically.
Oh, I
It'll
got
have to be built. The future, right? Because the property owner is going to want the traffic coming off 72 as well, I would think. So those are my comments.
It's in phases, so.
Well, I could probably, those are my comments generally. I'm not a big fan of a storage lot, but I get it from a pricing perspective, and it seems like the landscaping and heighting of it will be enough to where it won't look like it's a storage facility. So, thank you. Right. Deep site.
Good night.
How are you?
Hey Jeff, how are you? My name is Pablo, resident.
Your last name?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm pretty bad at speaking in public, but anyways, first of all, I think the project's amazing. I'm on 1220 Chatty Drive, so the back of my lot goes to this bike trail. So overall, the project's amazing. We do have a slight problem on Chatty Drive with the speed of traffic. So we either gotta put speed bumps on there, and you know, here I'm with Zach. Maybe we can cut that off from connecting to Chatty and put a playground there, or type of outdoor playground / gym, so that there's no through traffic trying to cut through that stoplight, because that is going to be an issue. So there's gotta be some type of preventing this, in my opinion. The other part, and that's something that I asked Josh, is to please work with us in a way where our security is being taken care of with the bike trail, not during the day, but at night, because that gives access to anybody that comes to that service station in the corner or that convenience store to go into that parking lot and maybe invade us. So one thing is that, and the other is if we, you know, hopefully we don't have reflectors pointing into our backyard at night, because that just makes it.
Which house were you in?
So anyways, that's it. Aside from that, the project overall is good. It's great for the community.
My name's Nancy Guido. I'm at 1130 Shady Drive. So I'm down at the other end from where all these other people are. And I got a few items here. But when he was talking about the lights and saying, oh, I hope it doesn't play it. Well, I'm the fourth house from Seba. My other neighbor here is the second house from Seba. When they put Casa Castillo in, they put that huge spotlight up for their parking area, and I understand they want to keep it lit up, but it lights up our whole backyard already. So I would like to have, instead of having all these offices on the west side, maybe move the storage building, put the offices on the east side, build up some type of park area, since you have the, whatever you want to call it, recreation center. Build up a park area there, put trees up on a nice berm or something, so it does block all the lighting. The other thing is having, again, some type of privacy, high wall with the, as a sound barrier. Because if you have all these cars coming in and out, I start work at 4 o'clock in the morning. I work from home. I'm gonna have all this noise coming into my house because you've got all these new cars coming in. We already have, as they've said, the traffic from the schools jotting down our roads already. My husband has a hard time even getting out of Chatty to make a left onto Seba in the morning because the traffic is so bad. And if you put that little arterial street in, I know for a fact that these kids are gonna be jotting down our road, heading over to Isabel Drive, heading out on 72, trying to make a left there, or 102, trying to make a left there just to get away from the light. Because the traffic is backed up for blocks in the morning and at night when school's out. Now you're adding, they're saying 600 more parking spots. You're adding, hopefully not all of those parking spots are full, but you're adding another 600 cars at those peak times. You're gonna have gridlock like no other. You know, so something has to be done that way for that whole area. Now, my other major concern is because I'm much right up against this retention pond. I'm gonna make sure if a retention pond's gonna go in there, that the drainage is done correctly. Because if you go down on Seba, just a couple of blocks west of Chatty, the retention pond there holds water forever once it rains. I've taken pictures with just a slight rain. That retention pond had water in it, still has water in it, but for 5 days after it rained. The weeds in there are ridiculous. It doesn't get taken care of because you can't get into it to mow it. When you look at the pond itself, the big sewer holes that they have are about this much higher than the water that's sitting in the bottom of it. There's no drainage in there. So there has to be something done that they have the retention pond, either some type of drainage system on the bottom of it to get the water out, or to have it sloped correctly so it does empty when it's supposed to empty. Now, the other thing that concerns me is with the stores that are supposed to be, you've got the gas station and then the retail stores. He was saying something about a drive-through coffee shop. Now, I don't know if he's planning on a 7 Brew or Starbucks or what, but I don't know if you've seen 7 Brew down on 14. You got so many cars trying to get in and out of there. To have them try to get in and out of something like that off of Seba with all the traffic on that 5 o'clock go home or the morning rush, you're gonna have people sitting on the street trying to get into it. And again, what the other lady mentioned is if they are going to be putting all these offices closer to the homes, where are the garbage dumps gonna go? I don't want them backed up to my house. If anything, have them put it on the arterial street that's gonna go through, have some type of surround put around them. Keep them away from the residential, because we don't need the animals. We already have snakes and everything else coming in now. We don't need any more coming in because of garbage. As for the school, I like the idea of the school being there. I know people that have kids that go to that school and drop it off. It's a great school, so I think that's a great idea. The other thing I questioned about is, you said that there's supposed to be an outdoor pool and an indoor pool?
Only an indoor pool. The pool's only inside, the basketball court inside. It'll be a combination basketball court and pickleball court outside, just one court. Yeah, the swimming pool is all indoor.
Right, so if you're gonna have something like that, like I said, maybe get away from at least one of these office buildings and do something more outside that way, or put like a park area to screen the noise and everything from the residential areas.
I'm Mary Minnick and I live at 1110 Chatty Drive. And I finally accepted the fact that the Angus are not coming back in the backyard. I only have 2 issues. One is the sound barrier between our house and back up to the field. Sound, and I'd like to see that Isabella Boulevard, although my dog appreciates the name Isabel. I don't see that coming and emptying into our addition. Too much traffic, we already have. That's it. The plan is basically good.
Hi, Joel Earl, 353 Seba. I live across the street from a little bit down. But sorry, that's my light. That's not the other building light. It's a dusk to dawn light, so it stays on. But we, me and my wife looked at the plans and we like it. I'm not in the street Chatty, but that one road that goes into Chatty, I don't know if it has to be there or not, but that would be my only concern about this whole development. But other than that, I like the opportunity of stuff being there, the fitness being right there, and I think Centerton needs a little bit more development, stuff like that. We've lived in that house across the street for about 8 months, so we're just here. But to be honest, we always go into Bentonville because there's nothing over here. So it's pretty nice to see that we're going to get some more stuff over here. And my next
Thank you.
Kristen Earl, 396 Again, I don't agree with the proposed street that goes into Chatty. We have 4 children and we frequently go across Seba onto Chatty to play with friends there, and my 4 kids are outside playing with all the other neighborhood kids, and it just makes me nervous to have all that traffic coming out of there onto Chatty when there are so many children playing. So I do love the idea that somebody proposed it would be a playground or even just like a grassy field, something where the children could kind of play there, but not a street.
Hi, I'm Sue Weebsite. I live at 1231 Chatty Drive. And, I have concerns about the traffic in the neighborhood and Isabel coming through. I work from home and I observe a lot out my window. And I know with the construction going on in the north end, that's a lot of the people who will speed up and down and who bring the danger to our children in the neighborhood. And our houses are close to the street there, but neighbors are usually pretty good. And I see opening up Isabel is going to bring just a lot more people who, are not vested in our neighborhood, and it's just going to bring more traffic congestion and danger to people. And I'm concerned about the roads, Main Street and everything coming into this development. I want it to work. I'm all for it. But, if it's going to serve northern Centerton, it's a lot more north from there, and the roads just aren't really good to come in. And so I would hope that a traffic study would produce a better access so that those businesses can be viable. But I'm for the development, and that's it.
I'm going to make it a second call for anyone who wishes to speak on the planned unit development. Yes.
Is this talking about?
Let me close the hearing and then I'll. And we'll do the third and final call for anyone who wishes to speak or comment in regards to the planned unit development.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for BU 2104.
Donald, second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right. Now, if you'll like to speak.
I'm Addis Bliss, Veritas Architects and Design. I'm actually grew up in Rogers, but I'm in KC now. I'm back in East Joshua, so it's a pretty cool job. The street, I wanted to address that a little bit, and I'm really addressing the crowd. Is that all right?
As long as you hold the microphone so that we can hear you, because we're recording, thank you.
We're not set on the project there to spur. It was not really something that we considered heavily because Spur Road was there to begin with, and so
part of the plan that across Main Street. So I just wanted to make that kind of clear to begin with, and that's how it started. And you'll see, so Isabel Boulevard is designed very intentionally to slow down the traffic, because that was, our first intention. Well, if we have this connection, it's a good, urban design, and it needs that. We're going to take this Isabel Boulevard, we're making it something that's really great, and it's really slow. So you can see how it's intentionally separated to begin with. You say, well, why is that bad? Because the cars right next to each other. But then we bring those cars together through that until it comes over to Chatty. So I do think with some negotiations with planning, we'll be able to get you guys maybe some speed bumps along your street, and maybe do some tables along Isabel. I think that would be great. We want Isabel to be a slow road too. So whatever tools we have at our disposal to make that happen, I really think that would be a great compromise. We'd love to do that. And when it comes down to screening, I think screening and light were the other two things. Light, as somebody said before, is more determined in the large scale development. And so you will see with the next one that's following this, the large scale development come through. And so that'll be a portion where they'll make sure that the light cutoffs get correct. When these get to be these large scale developments, and we have so many engineers we pay for this, and the detention pond is going to operate according to an engineer's drawings. Those things will be determined on that. The planning staff will definitely check this out. So screening is the last thing that comes up on that list. It's not necessarily on the docket. It's not going to be checked later on. I'll speak for Josh a little bit.
It will be.
Screening. Yeah. Joey here says you're going to get screened.
Landscaping and screening is Joey.
Yeah. So you're going to get screened, and we'll have to talk about exactly what that is. But we'll hopefully satisfy everybody's goals. That's the goal. So that was it.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Donna, we will go back to you.
So, for uses, we have a conditional use, that uses shall be limited to those described in D or those allowed in major commercial.
was just asking her about the sidewalks. If we're doing 10-foot sidewalks, we'll receive it in May. And then they may be proposing trails along the west and north for connection, but I don't know that I would make it a requirement because they're already doing 10-foot sidewalk along the road. That was just my concern.
You're talking
I'm just
about
concerned
the
about
internal trails? I agree 100%
being
with that.
required. It just sounds very.
I agree 100% with
excessive.
that, and I was gonna ask if that was their intent to provide circulation through the site, pedestrian circulation. And if that was, if they wanna integrate speed tables, maybe use those and move the trail up internal to the site so it's not against the adjacent residential. Just a thought. But, I
I was
mean, yeah,
thinking
I
of doing a trail around the whole property. And that's
personally, I don't want to require the western and northern trail. If it's just for their internal use,
I mean, if that's what they want to do, that's just different from me.
correct.
I do believe that we reduce most of our green space, but that will take a ton of green space. That we're at
Well, you can
30% now, so we can reduce by 50% so we community, so I think we'll be fine.
Well, you can still use it as green space. It just won't have a trail.
It's not required to have a trail.
Okay, of course.
Yeah, so that would add to your green space.
I see. Okay, great.
Anything else, Donna, or was that?
Then there's just the typical standard, general conditions such as, indefinite terms of approval, will require a large-scale development application. They'll need to meet all those standards with the PUD code, fire code. Any amendments will require another PUD application. If there's any complaints, it can review again. For a lot of these in the class. And these are in the CD.
Just wanted to clarify a few things. I think it was briefly mentioned, but from a lighting perspective, we do have some regulations in place that they'll have to adhere to that will not put any light that's outside of their area. There are different types of ponds. There's some that hold water and some that don't hold water. And so depending on what they propose and what's the right thing for the neighborhood, it could hold water or it could just drain out. So that's the reason that you see different pond types in that area.
Charlotte was designed to contain water and to have about 4 feet of water. Just with that development, it silted in and it just wasn't ever cleaned out, so that's why it's just a dump.
Yes, so there are different types, so that it's a little more clear that, whatever's best for the development is what we would consider a large scale development. I would like to get the commissioner's opinion of the spur, I'll call it. I would say it's been on the plan for a long time. It was there whenever they created the subdivision. And I consider it more as a safety for people to get in and out, more than just the traffic is the way that I look at it. I understand that people may potentially speed through the neighborhood. There's lots of places in town where people may not adhere to the speed limits. That's not for us to necessarily consider, because there's ways around that. There's potential ways. The town is not a fan of speed tables or bumps, if you will. So if there's other ways that we should consider that they would do, we would certainly open to that. Tables are a whole different thing. So I'm in favor of the spur, and I just sort of throw that out there. So, but I would certainly be open to the commissioners' comments or questions, concerns, things like that in regards to the spur.
So, first of all, before we get any further, thank you for taking our feedback. It seems like over a year ago, it has to have been over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. You came in, I think you took the feedback spot left on this stretch. And I think you've done a great job of capturing what advice we gave, what direction we gave, and coming back and bringing something that I think everybody would be proud of. So thank you for that. While we were talking about the spur, I think it was brought up the first time that it was more of an emergency services type route through the neighborhood, around, and getting access through and around and back to that side with the school there and everything. With that said, I definitely see both sides of it. But I think that was the intent, was for that to remain for emergency services. Now it's kind of odd that it's public-private mashup right there. But I think they've designed that street corridor like they've talked about to be as deterrent of speeding as possible, with the median, with all of the trees, and then with the convergence back together after that last four-way stop. Jeff, I'm gonna agree with Guy. I'm supportive for emergency services.
The thing off of Main Street, I was asking Tony, I couldn't see exactly, I don't think it's defined, but I mean, a no left turn would potentially keep people from trying to come there to avoid the light and make a left on me, which might be something for us to consider.
To do the island type.
As long as it's
just like we
better,
do where you can't turn left.
As long as it's better than you only have at Wendy's.
Yes. I was gonna say, don't do the island type like we did off of.
I understand.
And that's gonna be dictated by the highway department.
Yeah.
People will naturally, when they're sitting there and they can't make a left turn, they're gonna go figure out, okay, the light's the better choice.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, if I lived internal to the subdivision and I wanted to get on Main Street, I would take that road and turn right on the Main Street instead of waiting at the light.
And that was what I saw when I saw the spur. I thought, well, that's easier for residents in that neighborhood to get out of the neighborhood and not have to deal with the traffic on SEBA as well. It basically gives you a second route out of the neighborhood onto Main. But yeah, going back to what you said, this is the kind of development that we look for and ask for when it comes to commercial for northern part of Centerton that supports residential growth. As was already noted, I think, large scale will get things hammered out so far as where the road is and lighting and trees and shrubs and things of that nature. But I do appreciate the mixed use idea. I think that serves a purpose of not just having it all storage or all something else.
Well, I think there were a few on the commission now that didn't see the first rendition of the storage, which was outdoor, and then they came back with this, which matches the sister building of the fitness center, and it's a mesh along that frontage, or at least 1,000 times better than it is.
Exactly. So I'm assuming phase one was to relocate the daycare just to get it out of the corner. I'm in favor, Jeff, of the spur. There again, we'll hash out at large scale, but I think this is the kind of development, commercial space that we were looking for.
Yeah, I like the way, I'm in favor of the spur, but also I appreciate the traffic calming is actually designed into this, that's shown is designed. You got your boulevard, you also, down at the south end, you've got it going into a choker. There'll be trees and plants in the median, which is also shown to reduce traffic speed. So actually, this is actually a very good urban design for slower traffic. So I appreciate that.
Ben still with us?
Ben, do you have any comments? Or
I agree with what John said, what Tony said. I agree with Spur and really like the comments submitted.
Thanks, Ben.
I think I'm gonna have to just barely lean on the side of I don't like the spur.
Okay.
I do see the points of people coming down Main. Oh, the light's red. I'm gonna turn right. I'm gonna go into the neighborhood, as opposed to getting to the light. Now, maybe the traffic study will change that, right? Potentially, making it to where it's easier to get to the right turn at the light or whatever the case might be. But I see that, and I'm kind of leaning in that direction.
And I see that more on the earlier phases. I think once everything is developed, it will actually be slower if you try to turn right before the light. It will slow you down and just go into the light.
Once you get through those, then you're on this, then you're in the neighborhood, and then, then you're going, and that's where they're concerned.
Exactly.
Stop chatting, right? They're always speeding. I mean, I have to push it to get to the middle of the street so that they get scared. Maybe not
We won't tell them what your name is, but it's on your shirt. You're not got much choice here.
The lawyer.
All right. Any other comments? I know I brought this for and shared, of course, lighting is most of it to it.
Yeah, so I got some things that I would like to talk about adding to the PUD. Obviously, we have the lighting ordinance. That's a big concern. Looking for cutoff lights with no infiltration to the neighbors for that. And I think everybody would be in agreement with that. Landscaping, obviously that was a big deal as well, not only for aesthetics, but for sound. So personally, this is what I'm gonna throw out there. Obviously, I haven't talked to anybody else, but typically when you have the commercial against the residential, you look for an opaque screening, so some sort of fence along with vegetation to shield sound and anything else. So be looking for that along the residential buffer right there. And then street trees, you guys show street trees, but be looking at, making it look pretty. While I understand that you have to have visibility into the site, so grouping street trees or something like that. One thing we already touched on was the trail all the way around. I think we are not going to require that, but we would want it on the public road. And I don't know if you guys have even looked at this, but the outlet on the pond, it's kind of in the middle of the site. I don't know where the topography drains. Is it going to be piped to a storm system? It's going to be piped to a storm system. Hearing yeses. If you're seeing yeses. Trash receptacles. So dumpster enclosures. Would like to propose that they're internal to the site and finished in an enclosure that has similar materials to the building. That would keep it away from the residential area. Smells, what do we say? Rats, raccoons, and possums away. And smells. And then one question I had was street improvements on SEBA. Have we talked about that? I see some improvements on the plans. I don't know that we've talked about that yet. Obviously, it'll come with the large scale. But so along with those street improvements, we would obviously have sidewalk on Main Street. We'd have right-of-way dedication on both. And I would propose that we don't accept a fee in lieu for sidewalks or street improvements for this project. I think that ensures that we get the connectivity, which I think is crucial at this intersection with the new light, with everything across the street, and that it goes in. So that's everything I want to say.
Anderson, can I ask a question about that? Yeah, can you speak up into the microphone, just because we're recording? It's fine. Thank you. I just wanted to ask about that because we went back and forth a couple of times with the master plan improvements to the 100-foot right of way along SEBA. The things that we would, to some degree, be installing out there would be torn out at a certain time. So are you suggesting that we'd be building something outside of the right of way that complies with the 100-foot? Or
you typically are required to build to your half street section of what we call out on Master Street then, okay, which would not be actually outside. It would not be outside of the right of way. You only build public infrastructure in the right of way, and it would be to the Master Street section that we have for your half.
Okay, that probably ends up making sense, but the 100-foot right of way would be taking 10 feet of the house away directly to the west. It would be 10 feet into the house. So
yes,
there's a question of feasibility.
On your off side? On your off?
Yeah, the house, it's the southernmost.
Correct. So we lay that comp plan out based on the needs of these roads and projected traffic. So if we have to acquire right away, or do any of that later, that's on us. This is off your site. So when that time comes or that develops or something changes, that's when you got it around.
So in the large scale, we'll be able to work out whatever makes sense for now. Is it
No,
obviously it's not
it
gonna
would be
connect to
what's on the
something?
master street plan. And you probably have to taper back to the existing street.
I see. Okay, I think I understand.
Is everybody okay with the variance on parking?
Yeah.
660.
800 is a little
Close to 9.
That's a little much.
That still sounds excessive.
Yeah.
I think we have uses that kind of offset here.
Yeah.
It's the fitness center that throws it
Right.
so high.
The fitness center requires a lot.
But those cars are moving in and out. I mean, I can park the fitness center for 8 hours. I hope.
Unless you got a kid at the daycare, you want to go to the convenience store, then you want to go to.
You want to go get a coffee
And just have peace and quiet.
Any other discussion from the commissioners?
I noticed one thing on the kind of that design layout that's different than that. I know that's kind of down the road a little bit, but on that right there in the bottom corner, there's inlet and outlet of the gas station. And I know that may be up more to the state, right?
They've taken that off.
They've taken that off completely.
Yeah.
Okay.
They did this before that.
Yeah. Good deal, making sure.
That was mentioned.
They would pretty much be unusable anyway, I think.
That's why, that's kind of, yeah.
You'd have like 20 feet.
Yeah.
If there is no additional discussion, then I would entertain a motion for the unit development 2104, Terra Rose, again, it's at 148 Secret Road.
Joey, how do you want to restate those conditions?
Joey, several of those are covered under the residential compatibility and the design.
Yeah, I kind of just want to bring it up, so I really do it.
But we did want to not, you said you didn't want to approve the fee in lieu of.
That's up
Yeah.
for our discussion.
So that,
Well,
I would motion to approve PUD 2104 Terra Rose with that condition of we do not have a fee in lieu of. Then it must be part of it.
I'll second that, John. Thank you. Can I add the trashing book?
Yes. Crash opposed.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second, and we will take a roll call vote.
And traffic study.
Oh, traffic.
That was not.
I'll amend my second to add a traffic study.
All right, Jeff Slifer.
Yes.
Joey Holman.
Yes.
Devin Murphy.
Yes.
Craig Lindberg.
Yes.
Jerry Harris.
Yes.
John Sessoms.
Yes.
And Tony Davis.
Yes.
Ben Lewis.
Yes.
Your phone is working so much better than my computer.
Thank you, Josh, good luck. All right, next on the agenda this evening is subdivision 2112, Diamond Estates Phase 5. It's northwest corner of the intersection of Wolverine Drive and Ocean Drive. As a reminder, it's R2, 17.4 acres, 65 lots. They're looking for preliminary plat approval and adjacent street agreement approval.
Good evening. Taylor Lindley with Craft and Holman Associates. As you mentioned, this is phase 5 of the existing Diamond Estate subdivision. Just continuing on. This will be the last phase of this development, and will include the extension of Wolverine Drive to our north property line, typical water, sewer, storm improvement for streets. If you have any questions, I'll be available to answer. Thank you.
Now, this is you as well.
It is. So Diamond Estates received a variance in 2016 for the entire property to reduce the width by 2 feet. So there was 41 driveway dedicated in phase 4. So they have dedicated all driveway that we need at this time. The property has is connecting to public sewer and water from phase 4. There will be a lift station constructed and dedicated to phase 1. There has been a drainage report approved by the city engineer that has been submitted. The adjacent street agreement has been reviewed. There is a transition between the property because of the way the movement construction is a little piecemeal, and the transition between the previous comprehensive plan and the current comprehensive plan pertaining to street width, having to do the transition on the north side. So we've gotten, it narrows slightly and it shifts a little bit to the east. So we've got that figured out. One more sample to look at something else. And we've been in several meetings. There is a waiver, we are going to use 5 feet of sidewalk instead of 10 feet. And instead of approval of that request. Because of the grading, most of the trees in phase 5 are going to be removed. We are recommending that street trees be planted, and we'll bring it back.
Is that in any other book?
There were a couple of the street trees or the existing?
Street trees.
There were not street trees.
Because of
Right.
because of the jog.
We've got a little wider than this case. So, the main comments are pretty minor at this stage. It's really the support and harassment of the transition and getting other than that.
Any other comments or questions in regards to the preliminary plat for the Jason Street? There are no additional questions, then I'll entertain a motion. Subdivision 2112, phase 5.
Mr. Jerry, I'll make a motion to approve subdivision 2112, Diamond Estates phase 5, that covers the Greenland plat and the adjacent street agreement. That's contingent on any outstanding sidewalks.
John, I'll second.
We have a motion, and we have a second. Is anyone opposed? Thank you. All right, next on the agenda this evening is a conditional use 2114 urban and Flock at 5506 Townview Road. It's A1, it's 2 acres of needs as tree farm sale.
Yes, and the reason that it has come to you guys and there's not the typical public hearing, because we just received Mr. Lane, is that correct? Yay, I remembered. His request the other, just like last week for this one. So we wanted to bring it to you guys to see if this particular conditional use request would be acceptable as being administratively approved, or what's your theory on this one, Lorraine?
I thought the request was so that you could go ahead and be allowed to sell the trees.
Yes.
Get the trees prior to the public hearing.
Okay, there we go.
Are we?
I wanted to make sure I was on the same page as you.
So what would, to get trees
He's having trees delivered this week
yes, that's
or this.
yeah, I mean, yes, I've confirmed that they've been harvested and they're ready to deliver, but I'm not in a situation where I can't, absolutely pull the plug. I'm pretty well invested at this point, but.
And I don't think you need a conditional use to receive Christmas trees.
Well, no, it's not necessarily. I think that the receipt of them is that, we need a conditional use permit to actually sell the Christmas trees, right? And that's what we're really kind of bringing for you guys. And I apologize, I know it's been a long evening and we've heard a lot, but we would love to bring the counts back over at our place. We have a small farm. That's all it is. It's a small agricultural space. It's kind of what it will always be. We've made a promise kind of to our kids and our family to make sure that it stays that way. And in so doing, we would like to have the occasional ability to, sell some Christmas trees, maybe do some pumpkins in a family festival. Way downscaled from what you may know as your family festival, as the Megaras or one of those guys do them. In this particular instance, we'd like to bring in some Christmas trees. We've got parking for about 70 cars, considering the neighbors' involvement as well. He said we could use that. We've set aside some parking. We'll have a pony ride and a couple of other little kind of petting zoos and hot chocolate and things like that. Just kind of a family fun place for us to come as citizens in Centerton and remember kind of what the agricultural stuff was about. But I think,
where's this? So the entrance would be off of Christian Lane, right?
It sure would.
Christian Lane and Townview.
And we would, so you would, as you come around Townview, sir, as you drop down and around, our property is that top hill. We've got we've got the solar panels, and then our residence is there, and then we have a 2-acre plot.
I know, I was like, I'm lost.
It's actually, in the city grand plans, it's plotted for 6 residential lots, which it'll never do, as far as I'm concerned. But what we want to bring people in down Christian Lane and into our park on our property, come in and kind of do the festival part of it all, and then actually come back out, drive still in our property, back up to what we would call the loading area, and then pull out on Townview, which is a pretty good, we've got a little circle drive there around that elm tree. It gives quite a bit of visual clearance for people to pull out safely. I didn't want them pulling in from there and lining up down Townview. I wanted to get them down Christian Lane and kind of onto the property, and then we'll get them involved.
I guess the question is how to handle this. When are you looking at having the events?
I would like to start on Black Friday, and then it would be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday run until we ran out of trees. We've only ordered 620 trees, and from my estimates, that's moving 52 trees a day, which I really don't think we'll have a problem doing. We won't be open those last 2 weekends close to Christmas. I think this would be a 3-week weekend.
December 2nd would be the earliest meeting for public hearing.
That's us? Is that council or us?
We don't.
No, they don't go to council. That's us, December 2nd.
7.
The only thing is, prior to that, if staff.
Residences along Christian Lane, is that correct?
There are, yes, sir. And I've spoken with a multitude of them and wouldn't mind going around and asking them to sign up for participation, agreement. They're all kind of involved at this point with their families. They all have really kind of personal relationships with our agriculture. We've got 4 lap cows, and a couple horses. Everybody kind of stops by.
So I think the problem that we're facing here is that conditional use has to have a public hearing.
Yeah. Residents on there, the whole public has to.
Well, it's the notification is 300 feet.
Mhm.
Okay. And while I don't doubt your neighbors
Actually-
are on board, what?
No. For certain conditional uses.
Does this one not have to?
It is at the discretion of the planning director. Is it director or planning commission? I thought it was director.
Stand by for just a second.
Okay.
Just provide guidance and direction.
Yes, sir.
Because I haven't gone back online. Let's figure out the right thing to do and then
Top three.
Fraser.
Asheville, North Carolina.
No, they're actually.
My family owns a Fraser for a farm.
You can't buy them. They're closed. There's not available.
They're sold out for 10 years ahead.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And
They sell those trees when they're that big.
Finding a grower that will add a new client is kind of a jump through.
Really?
Those trees are sold 10 years ago.
Yeah, and they want full. I mean, I fronted all the cash for the semi-loaded trees before they would never even have given them to me. So, I mean, not that that's your responsibility.
No, but the tree game is.
It's
big business.
When you
in the hills.
I mean, not to push its agenda, its specific agenda. It's safer. I mean, it's these people particularly, they have 2,300 acres of carbon sequestering trees that they cut down every 10 years, and they bring in a whole new genetic strain every 10 years. So it's very sustainable, and it's doing some great things. You don't have a tree off-gassing in your attic. You don't have a tree that, is leaving BPA all over your kids' new toys you bought.
Sure.
It makes
you have to get rid of them.
Yeah, and we're going to take them back. We're going to take the trees back. Yeah, we're going to take them back, and I've got some partnerships worked out with.
I got some crumpet holes.
Yeah, exactly. And some agricultural stuff that we're going to do with them too.
It's way off topic, but yeah.
John, you pick them all up. We'll load them up. We'll go get them.
You are welcome.
I'm interested in this lap cow.
Couple of efficient places.
Mutilda. She's a big red cow, and if you speak to your police officers, they've all met her. She broke out at the lower pasture.
Oh no, she made a run for it.
Yeah.
Your horse or your cow?
The cow.
Mutilda.
We have 8 horses. Yeah. Well, 2 at this point.
Right.
it creates a little bit of extra whenever you do an event, I'll call it, that you speak of as well, because it brings in a lot of people. Obviously, there's traffic and some other things, so that's the reason we want to make sure we do the right thing. But I'll tell you, it's long term. If you think this is something you might want to do 3 or 4 times a year, for whatever the event might be, whether it's July 4th or it's something else, then we would be looking for a plan, and you might be able to get a conditional use for a longer period, so you don't have to come see us each time you want to do an event.
Understood. For like a season itself.
Yeah.
We're gonna have 2 runs. We're gonna do the pumpkins. We're gonna do the Christmas. We're gonna wrap it up immediately.
And the only reason I mentioned that is because we have a seasonal place just up the road here, a Christmas store, if you will.
Right.
That did that.
Right.
Because they didn't want to come see us every year. And we were okay with that. But all the plans are in place and some things that have to be implemented from a safety perspective and things like that. So we're just waiting on them to find.
No, and
I think the biggest concern is safety traffic. So, I mean, how do you plan to mitigate that? Are you gonna have people directing?
Right. I've got people to not only direct for Christian Town View, what we'll do, we'll just turn away. I mean, we'll have to just flag them down and have them do a loop and come back. Potentially, I can hold about 40 cars on my property with I've got partitioned off. I can get inside of what I've got laid out for the actual event itself if we need to make allowances for more. Cliff behind me, he supports the whole thing. I've been using his tractor to kind of preset it. He would let us park on his space as well. And then the neighbor across from Christian, Jason Deloach, he's got another 30 or 40 places on his spot that he would be happy to let people park, both in the front, off of Town View for his space, and off of Christian.
It's all grass parking.
It is, yes, sir, but it is on a hill. It drains really pretty appropriately. I have, I brought in, I've got a semi-truckload of shavings that we're spreading, you know, and we're gonna make sure nobody has a mud hole or a twist. I've got all the liability insurance lined out with our homeowners insurance, so that if anybody twists an ankle or fall off a pony, you know, they'll be taken care of properly.
Pick up a tree and ride.
And the pony ride is, I mean, look, all these things are free too. The only thing, I mean, incidentally, I mean, it may not have any bearing on your decision. You know, we're not charging for any of the amenities. You know, we're charging for the tree. Unfortunately, the price of trees in the current market does not really put us in a position as a home and a farm to put them out there at what we feel like is an absolute reasonable price. So we wanted to add some amenities to it. You know, come have a cup of hot chocolate, watch a movie, you know, hang out for a minute, roast a marshmallow, whatever. But, you know, and also kind of take a tree.
Okay, I did find it. It's in the application checklist. It does say at the discretion of the planning director, the applicant may be required to provide a...
That's the PUD.
No, it's the conditional use permit. Because it's not in the code, it is in the application checklist.
Brian's twitching.
Yeah,
Brian's twitching. I was going back and forth looking.
I mean, a quick question if I may, while we ask you that. A conditional use permit too could be closed down and shut down if we had any complaints or challenges. Am I wrong in that assumption? So if we had the neighbors who made a run for us and brought out the pitchforks and wanted to riot, I mean, we could just pull the permit.
You can, good for you, you paid attention during the first.
Yay!
The RV park. Yeah. But yes, I do believe that's the case. But I've been on here for a number of years, I've never seen us do what we're trying to say that you can.
You know what, maybe it's in
That's, I mean, we got state statute, right?
It still doesn't say you can waive a public hearing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think we can get notices out. I mean, I'll be the bad guy again.
With the notice of 300 feet, I mean, that's not even that, I mean, of our residents proper. I mean, that's 6 or 8 people. Could I bring a letter to the planning commission signed by them?
Well, the problem is, the statute essentially says it's got to go out 15 days prior to that. So, you know, arguably we can get that, but I don't think we can speed up the process.
Okay, so we, best case scenario, we'd be in a 15-day kind of freeze.
Right.
Because if somebody drives by, I mean, there's a sign posted, even though you only notify certain people, if there's somebody else that's up and down the street that's, for whatever reason, would have questions, there is a large residential area that's not too far from you, so if they drive through.
451 homes.
It's open to the public, it's good marketing, but it's open to the public for any of them to speak or ask questions or anything like that. So that's the reason that we have the.
Are they, and they're not in the notification zone, they're just in
300 feet for notification.
The entire public can speak.
Sure. And there's a sign out there, and we have it, people stop, you know, things like that, so that's the reason we do it. So.
Short of changing precedent, can you give me some direction on how I can receive $40,000 worth of trees and not tell my wife I'm sleeping outside for the next 12 weeks?
You're gonna be hanging out with Matilda in the barn.
It's nights with Matilda in the barn.
Receiving trees.
I mean, you can.
Yeah, no, you can have the trees, you just can't.
You can receive trees all day if you talk there. Again, I don't know what all the rules and regulations are, but there may be options for selling them someplace else in town. I don't know. I don't know what all the. I know what this is.
Understood.
So there may be other options to potentially sell the trees without.
And I've got secondary, and I mean, with all due respect,
I have to do what you presented here.
Yeah, I have secondary markets. I mean, I've got, you know, I'm working with Nelson's Hardware in Cave Springs and places like that, that they can help me start to move some inventory also. So I'm not in a situation where literally, you know, my kid's college fund it is in hold. However, all that is, you know, I don't want to get stuck with a whole bunch of trees necessarily.
No, you just go through the process of conditional use, receive your trees
Sure.
like you're gonna do it, and then come back with the conditional use, follow the rules.
Right on.
So if it's 15 days, what's his date?
Well, the problem is, you know, they're only publishing in the paper on Sundays now, as well.
15 days from that publication, 15 days from the.
Well, from the first, typically the statute read from first published.
For the,
We can make December time.
yes, December
Okay,
7th is,
okay.
the cutoff is Friday to have it in the
Right.
paper.
All month. Marketplace.
Private invitation first.
Okay, so you're gonna need to do a conditional use.
I will do so.
With public, these folks will take great care of you and give you all the rules and regulations.
Excellent, and I'll see you on December
And
7th.
we'll see you on December 7th.
I look forward to that. Hopefully I won't get behind an RV.
If you're nice, they'll put you
Yeah,
under.
you wanna talk to the lady? that
Whole
does the
business.
schedule?
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to call her with 7 days notice to get on the schedule, just so you know. Thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll visit, I guess, tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Should we table that, just, because it's on the agenda, so I would entertain a motion to table the conditional use 2114 urban block. This
This is Craig. I'll make a motion to table conditional use 2114.
Mr. Terry, I'll second.
Is anyone opposed? All right. Under announcements, there is a tech review on 12/2. Looks like it's through Zoom. The next planning commission meeting is 12/7, and the next council meeting is 12/14. Anything else from the commissioners? Ben, thank you for joining. Hope everything works out. If there is no additional comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion second, is anyone opposed? All right, thank you guys for a good meeting.
Get your.
I mean, there's no comments about what time it is? That's only when I run the meeting?
Well, it's still today.
Oh.
You know?
Even with daylight savings time.